Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Have the Race Gone for, well, I hardly even know how to present this one. It is gonna be a banger of an evening that you have tuned into. We are, of course, broadcasting live from the IGTL, the International Gran Turismo League 1985 F1 Grand Prix of Croatia, from Imaginary Croatia, from the Dragon Trail Seaside, the reverse layout. So a very challenging one for the drivers indeed, this one. And especially taking into consideration that they will be in the Polyphony Digital F1500 Turbo, or T, as it's just called, this 80s classic turbo F1 car, as we're having a look here at the winner from the last IGTL race, Tichney, Mr. Martin Grady. So we have our expectations built up for this one. It is gonna be a heck of a race. I am quite certain of that.
Absolutely insane speeds you see these cars drive around at, and if you haven't tried it yet, let me tell you, it's nearly impossible to handle this car. The way it revs, the levels of grip it has, the way the downforce works, none of it is anything like the newer cars you can drive, the LMPs, the current Mercedes Formula 1 car. It's not anything like this, so I'm expecting tons and tons of drama right from the beginning here.
Yeah, the same from me, and I also, of course, having tried out the car a little bit beforehand, it was just a mouthful, to say the least, to handle this car. The turbo comes in at such a force, the power band is so narrow and spiky that it really demands absolute concentration, as we see just lightning wiping out. Of course, mind you that the drivers are doing their warm-up session at the moment, and here in about 13 minutes time we will be starting out with the SuperPole format qualifying session, whereas the drivers will be called to the track one by one and set a single flying lap. That means we're of course going on a warm-up lap and then one flying lap, but drivers out one by one is going to be a very viewer-friendly qualifying format, I suppose, or at least I would think so myself if I were viewing the channel.
Yeah, and it's a very cool way to run things, and we saw in the last round, or the last IGTL race, that these guys can certainly get very close to each other, and I believe very close to the potential pace of the cars they're in when they have time to do so. So changing it up and doing this SuperPole format is really cool, because it's more of a risk, what do you call it, a risk-benefit?
Yeah.
A risk-benefit analysis. If you want to go really hard, or if you want to try and save something and make sure that you get cleanly through, I bet you pretty much all of the guys are able to go faster through the Port Chicane than they will be in that one qualifying lap, because you just don't want to risk each other about dying in that chicane, because it is called the Chicane of Death for a reason. It's hard enough in a GT3 car, so it's nigh on impossible to get right at top speed in this one.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. It is one of the most challenging corners of the game, actually, I'd say, to get completely right. It's also one of the corners where it's the easiest to make a mistake, and any small mistake will be punished absolutely brutally.
But then also, I want to say, if there's ever a field to take on such a tough challenge as doing this track at this in this car, it would be this one. Let's just take a moment and enjoy the names we have on the screen for us here tonight. These are just 8 of the guys running, but here we have Lightning, we have Tichney, we have Org, we have Alex, we have quite a big part of the ERT team. This is, I might say, this is the strongest lobby race, I guess you can call it, I've probably ever seen.
Yeah, I have never seen, and not even at any of the stints, if you take those as races in itself. I mean, it was an impressive field at the first IGTL race, but they kind of top it off here by having those couple of extra top drivers. We have Lightning, TRL Lightning, who I know has been extremely fast in practice here. He's been the fastest guy in practice setting times. I think his fastest time here was a 1:17.8, and that is, of course, mind you.
You say that, but his current fastest lap in the warm-up session is 1:17.9. So if that's as fast as possible, that he's very consistent.
He is, but that is one of the trademarks of TRL Lightning, Mikkel.
And indeed one of the trademarks of this caliber of driver, of course, is being able to get that close to your potential all of the time. One of the really impressive feats, if you ask me, is being able to push it to that, push it that far and keep it there that long. Because certainly there's a lot of guys, even in the lower classes in sport mode races, that are able to put on a very strong pace for 1 lap, 2 laps, and then maybe have a bit of mistake. These guys can do that all night long.
They can do it lap after lap after lap, and it is certainly very, very impressive to see. It's also time to say good evening to some of our regular viewers, at least here. Stevie, joining along, the teammate of Trials from the NES. A very good evening to you, mate, and a very warm welcome to the channel, and also to Paul and Tatiana, who's joined us here for the first time, I believe. Or at least for the first time they are active in the chat. Very nice to see you watching along here as well, and I hope you have a very good race here. It is a special feeling, it is a special event type of vibe I get, at least from these IGTL races, given that the grid is so strong, as we've just gone through a little bit before. So much of the European top split is here, and it really just in turn makes for some spectacular racing, I'd say. At least last time out, the final couple of laps at the Catalunya race, the 3 hours of Catalunya.
So last time out was they had this different. If you haven't seen it, they ran a team race. So one part of the team, that means 1 out of the 2 drivers, was in one lobby. Did the first stint of an hour and a half, and then the next driver gets sent off, sort of like a relay race, and he was sent off with the time gap the other driver had accrued across the first hour and a half. And at the end of that, we had 3 guys within a few seconds of each other, battling with each other for the win. And I believe if it wasn't for the disconnect of one team, help me out here, Dirten, we would have had 4 guys in that battle at the end of 3 hours across 2 drivers per team.
Very much so. That is completely correct, because
absolutely insane.
We had the TX3 racing team that was very much there, but kind of got taken out by a 5-second penalty towards the end of the second stint. Then we had, of course, the Klasny racing team of Tichney and Soki88, who's also here racing tonight, by the way, who came on from very strongly there from behind in the last stint. And then we had TRL Perpi in the Spain racing BMW M6, who also made a very strong showing, but took a very long last stint, and his tires really were very, very dead by the end of that stint.
Yeah.
And it showed in the pace difference, and it just made for some ecstatic racing there on the final lap, and it all came down to that penalty being given actually to Perpi for bluffing. Thank you there while I'm just talking as we're staring into the wall. Really good picture quality here, I guess. I was just taken back to that final lap of the Catalunya race, because it was certainly something special.
Yeah, absolutely. We were screaming at the tops of our lungs towards the end there, because there was no way you could have predicted that would happen, that it would be that close, and with like margins, it could have been a 4-way battle for the last 3 laps, which is absolutely insane. If anyone ran 1 hour races, you know that most of the time the gap between the top 3 is more like 30 seconds per placing, maybe a bit less.
Yeah.
And here it was within seconds between 4 guys.
Very much, exactly. So it was extremely close given the length of the race overall. And here, just want to mention it on one of the newcomers to the series, one of the new racers for this race today. It's E-Racer from Italy, racing for the GTE team, and it's very nice to see yet another very strong face, I was about to say. I guess it's not really, because we only see the helmet. Another strong helmet, actually, and a very nice helmet design on that one. And really looking forward to seeing how he fares along here today. As we mentioned before, Tichney, perhaps the absolute star of the Catalunya race. As we see the drivers, and this has been a thing here out through the warm-up session, they're just trying the limits out of the track. We've seen quite a bit of crashing, actually.
Yeah.
But that, in turn, I think is, of course, because They want to find those limits. They want to be absolutely 100% certain to how far can they push this car in the different corners and such. To be absolutely sure that they don't overdo it, especially early in the race, or as you mentioned before, even more importantly, in qualifying.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's interesting to see a lot of the top guys here actually do crash a lot during warm-up. I'm not sure you'd expect that, but obviously it makes sense. But always cool to see that that's certainly a thing they go for. I think sometimes there's a bit of a thing where you join a lobby and the grid feels sort of different. Maybe they've been training at a different time of day. Sometimes there's just some weird different feel that's hard to explain. So obviously one of the things they want to make sure here is what's the top limit like through the scariest corners on the track. And scary that they definitely are. Let's watch Ark here, famous for his exploits in the FIA series. No troubles for him.
And also I mentioned Chicane as one of the star drivers of the last race, but that means I also have to mention this guy because he was perhaps the absolute star driver of the race when he went in for his stint there. Came back from being a lap down and actually managed almost to get the car into the top 5. It was very close. He ended up in P6.
Yeah. And a name famous, I want to repeat that, for being very, very dominant in the FIA races of last season.
Indeed. Indeed.
Very powerful driver we have there.
So anyway, just to go through the qualifying format for any new viewers, of course, also welcome to everybody who has joined the stream here within the last 10 minutes or so. But the qualifying format is a SuperPole format where the drivers will be called in a random order to track one by one to have a warm-up lap and then one flying lap, which is in turn gonna be all they have. So if they mess it up on that one lap, well, but just to make sure that everybody out there is completely along the lines of what we're talking about here, if the driver messes up that one qualifying lap, then it is just, well, around and off to the back of the grid, and that is going to be a huge problem here, especially with the strength of field and also that overtaking in these cars here.
Just hitting the line there, right through there.
Very nice. Very nice.
Corner that's almost impossible to get right, and he just nails it. Sorry to interrupt, but I was running for about 20 minutes shortly to starting the broadcast, and I think out of the first 15 attempts, I think I got it right once. But yeah, as a wise man, a wise old white rapper, Eminem once said, you get one shot, one opportunity. Which is, I really love that because, as we said before, these guys are so fast that it's margins between most of them. So having that mental aspect of this is the only shot you have, having to deal with picking an attitude towards that lap is a very interesting prospect for these drivers, and it's going to be very cool to watch how, especially the first guys who don't have much of a marker on what the pace is going to be like in this one lap. It's going to be interesting to see how they choose to go.
It really is. It really is. Yes, with just taking a look at Dr. Rob, the Aries Racing Team driver with this lovely Sony liveried car. Certainly looking great. Another of the Aries drivers is here, is of course Wizard, and we're also joined by Thunderstorm, and of course Dismania. Will also
Wizard there, just showing us how hard it is to get traction under acceleration in that car. He was still just holding it with the steering wheel all of the time, squirming around up through third. It does it in fourth if you stamp the throttle. Well, not even stamp it. If you does that, it's gonna spin.
Yeah.
But if you push too hard in fourth, it's still gonna drift.
It's still and it's very twitchy. It has a lot of downforce, but you still feel that over any kind of crest or bump on this track, which this track in turn does have a couple of. It still goes very light, and the tail all of a sudden goes very loose. Also, when you're carrying a lot of speed, that does get very hair-raising.
Yes, indeed it does.
So far here in practice, it's still Lightning 3/10 faster than teammate Org, and then it's B Racer within a tenth of him, and in turn also Chicane within a tenth of him, and then race, and there's a little bit of a gap. And now to one of the other newcomers, not completely newcomers, because this is actually the driver who won the Port Chicane race.
Yeah.
Promo race. So with a name that it's going to be hard for us to say quickly. So we're going to decide what to call our...
It's going to be ATT.
It's going to be ATT, of course. So ATT, the Frenchman who I in turn know is a journalist, he writes about stuff, I guess, motoring stuff, I would suppose, and racing. And very nice to have him along here. It'll be really interesting to see how he fares along, especially given that he is a mere mortal, I was about to say.
At least a suspected mortal.
A suspected mortal, but we
pending evidence, we're going to suspect that he is actually human, unlike most of the races in the lobby.
But he might also in turn just
he fares.
Exactly, but he might just turn out to be alien indeed, as so many of the others are as well.
Absolutely, we shall see how many aliens are in the lobby. I suspect quite a few. But it's an interesting prospect. We've had this at every IGTL race. Most of the grid are superhuman, top level, some of them even pros. But then we've had one or two people who are more firmly attached to the mortal realm. And it's very interesting to see how they fare against these top guys. As many people have been talking about how interesting it would be in the Olympics to have a normal guy line up against Usain Bolt.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Here you actually get it. You actually see how a good racer, but not an absolute freak, compares to these absolute freaks.
These absolute freaks. Of course, we mean this in a good way, but it's just to see the level of performance that these drivers are able to put in. It really. What I heard here from Olegna, was that a missed gear change? Olegna might be...
Olegna running with a manual, a very interesting prospect. This car is supposed to be running manual, but most of these guys are using sequential shifting for driving this car. This does sound...
What one chance. So I hope you are as excited for this race out there as we are, followers of the different teams and the different drivers in the series here. We're just trying to figure out whether Olegna or Desmania, as we should call him in this lobby, as his name actually is. But I guess we'll just go with Olegna, even though he is running a different account here. Anyway, so we just got the word in chat also that the qualifying sessions will be starting in 2 minutes, basically at 5 minutes past 9. That's of course Central European time we're talking about here. But that is of course something that we are really looking forward to here. We are following Desmania Olegna. A dear child has many names here as he comes across the line. The 1:19.5.
His best lap, but it's still a bit off pace. You're still just trying to sneak in a listener about whether or not he's running a manual shifter. A very interesting prospect. I wasn't quite able to hear. I gotta say, I don't think he was.
No.
It sounded too accurate, even for the level of driver that Olegna is.
The drivers just making their final qualifying preparations. We're following Jomas here on what might be his last chance to set a flying lap in the practice session. So we go on board with the Frenchman.
Meanwhile, TRL Perpi just arrived.
Oh, he just made it. That's great.
Also very much a proponent of the great racing we saw last time around in the IGTL. Opened very strongly for his team. Showed some great pace and nice consistency.
It was Perpi who
followed up?
I think it was Perpi. Who was it who I think it was Perpi who ended the race. Then it was Williams It was Koke.
Oh yeah.
At the first stint.
Koke
Williams, who
an entire team whose names we decided to mispronounce all the way through last broadcast.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to not pronounce Perpi in a Finnish accent this time around either.
I think I will also.
Perpi.
Perpi. Anyway, just a chance to catch TRL off on a hot lap, and we're gonna do just that. The very fast Frenchman here. We are getting very fast to the start of the qualifying session. So shit. Perpi did shoot lightning.
It works on so many levels.
Yes, sir.
Because I certainly can say that Perpi's driving will be shooting lightning later, but I don't suspect it will be his teammate.
So still just the drivers here with a final chance of getting the last feelings of the car in place here. See a lot off, he might just need that after a wall touch there.
He's onto the grass and the curb and he's into the wall again. You see that sequence of turns is just so hard to get right.
Very much, yes indeed.
You're coming out of the second part of the Port Chicane in fourth, and you don't really suspect the car to do much. You suspect it to be planted, but no, it decides the rear end wants to slip coming through here. The left-hander, it sometimes slips there, and there's just not much space. And then to figure out what line to take through there is almost impossible. And then getting it right is even harder.
I guess it's about finding some kind of some kind of marker that you can use for turning in as a point for saying I turn in here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But it's just so difficult because
there's several lines. There's a direct line where you cut across and then go wide, and there's a line where you follow the edge of the track all the way around.
Indeed.
And which is faster, and just getting it right is almost impossible with downshifts. Obviously, me and Dirten tried to run it manually when we ran, which was super hard. I tried it briefly in sequential, and obviously it's slightly easier to get things right, but I think this is so hard, you guys.
I think we're getting very close to the qualifying session here. Still hasn't been started yet, so no official laps being set yet. We are of course going to see track reset first. Of course, Belen and Olegna, those two drivers were teammates also at the last race, so interesting to see how Belen fares along here. Belen did a very strong stint, but was very unfortunate not to fuel on a decisive stop with a very feeling strongly. And also interesting to see how GTLeague fares along here. He was so strong in the Atenza with Benjamin there last time around. So it'll be interesting to see how much of that was the known to be very fast Atenza and how much was the skill of GTLeague. Of course, we do think he's going to do quite well here today as well.
Yep, and certainly also a nice leveling of the playing field to have all the drivers in the same car. Tuning disallowed. This is a completely level playing field. It's all about the drivers here.
Yeah, this is really a true one make where
and touching on the car settings, the cars will be running 100% power, which is about 1,000 horsepower during their qualifying run. But during the race, they will be throttled down to, was it 81%? Which is about 700 horsepower, 680.
It's more than that. It's 80-some%, which is 840 horsepower or something like that. 840. And that's the race trim they're going to do.
Slightly down for the race trim, but here on the SuperPole laps we are going to be watching now, it is 100% about 1,000 horsepower coming out in the most unhelpful way.
It very much is. It's not just 1,000 horsepower, but it's 1,000 horsepower that comes very suddenly
to kill you.
Very suddenly it comes out of the blue, and it is
Belin here, the first one on the track, going to get his outlap done and dusted, running a hentai livery of all things. Well, not I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, it's obviously just an anime. So when I get specific.
So Belin, the first driver on track and the first driver to set any kind of benchmark for the qualifying session, as we spoke about before, it'll be really interesting to see actually how much they put into this one.
I gotta say, looking at how he handled the Port Chicane on his outlap, I think he's going to go pedal to the metal here, because he hit the wall coming through. Certainly doesn't seem to be holding back. Interestingly enough, not worrying anything about the tires. Obviously he will be coming out on warm tires, but not holding back or anything.
No, it's also worth keeping in mind that the fuel settings have turned off, so that in turn just makes it as if the drivers were having a full tank, or anyways, sorry, an empty tank running with, of course, what I wanted to say. We're gonna go to all info to see all the lap time stuff. I guess to make
Here
sure
as we start the first SuperPole qualifying lap of this 1985 F1 Grand Prix of Imaginary Croatia.
So Bellin, let's go on board here with the Belgian for a moment. As he comes down to the Chicane of Death. Oh, a little nudge up the barrier there. That's certainly going to slow him down a bit. And another one there.
As we see just how hard that corner is. See, he opts for a completely different, even narrower line that we were looking for.
Yeah.
And it's hard to tell whether or not that's because that car is so hard to handle under braking there, or if that was the line he wanted. It was certainly the line he got.
Bellin, as he comes down towards the end of the second sector there, 50 seconds dead is his time through there. So let's see how he fares through the last sector there. We also have a very tricky chicane. It comes downhill, so it's very difficult to get the car to actually turn in. You have to rub off more speed than you would expect to be able to have to there. He comes up towards the line, and we're going to see the first actual lap being set here is going to be a 124, the 120.451 from Bellin. Now he's going to park up, and we're going to have the next driver called out upon track.
Bellin 43 there, setting a nice first marker in the number 69 car. Hey! And very interesting to see how he fared there. I was, to be honest, I know he was running faster in the practice and warm-up. So interesting to see how much time he decided to save by being a bit conservative. And obviously he will have lost some time going through the Port Chicane with those two touches of the wall.
Indeed.
Next up here we see ATT, the Frenchman, in a very nicely done livery. I gotta say, I really like that.
Yeah, it's
always
fresh.
been a fan of that color in cycling. It's called Celeste because of the angle.
It's true, and it's kind of Celeste and goes very well with the dark blue as well here.
Absolutely Celeste.
Absolutely Celeste indeed. Also very pastelish kind of tone to it.
Yeah.
It goes well along with the 80s theme for tonight.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is the times of unironic mustaches. Great time indeed.
Oh, so we have Bellin says he's sick.
We know, bro. We just saw you race. That was sick.
That was sick indeed.
Nice to see you join up in the chat while racing as well. Good on you, mate.
Yeah. And of course, best of luck to all the Eries racing team members. Of course, we're in turn be saying best of luck to all of the racers tonight. But in turn, it is a pleasure to see so many of the Eries racing team members racing here tonight. Very, very competent gentlemen indeed.
Absolutely.
As we have ATT now making his way on to the start-finish straight. And down towards turn 1.
Slam on those brakes.
Absolutely slamming on those brakes. Gets a great exit, it seems. And now it is chicane time. And we go on board.
Races the wall again there.
Races it, but seems to lose less speed there.
Yeah, he does set the best sector 1 time.
Indeed he
Nice
does.
line, decent exit out of there as well.
I was just about to say those exact words.
stole them right out of your mouth there as he
So let's see
for the wide entry.
Bellin was on a 50 dead up at this split time. Let's see here. He is half a second in front of Bellin. So until now, a very good lap from ATT.
Just a bit of a slippy moment there. He goes completely to the left side. That might not even be too bad, but it did cost him a bit on the exit. Deals with that chicane very nicely indeed. He's gonna be just charging up to the line here. This is gonna be a very good time. This is certainly comfortably beating Bellin.
That is 7.5 tenths exactly in front of Bellin's time.
Just almost kills himself at the end of it there.
So a 1:19.7, that is a very nice time from ATT. And now it'll be interesting to see who is called up next by our French streamer, Avup. If you are French speaking, I would also very much encourage you to check out his stream on Twitch, which has all kinds of cool overlays that he spent a lot of time making. Very much, as I just mentioned before, a very short moment ago, do encourage you to check out his stream. Of course, are you not French speaking? Then of course, please
stick around.
Stick around here on Half the Race Gone, as we are just a bit away into the qualifying session. We are waiting
and
for.
It's gonna be B-Racer coming out next year.
B-Racer,
one of the newcomers to the series. We've had both of the newcomers we mentioned before getting out very early here, being given the sort of ungrateful role of setting a marker time for the big dogs to chase.
Yeah, indeed. So B-Racer also in a nice livery, I'd say, a little bit reminiscent.
Just thinking about it, I don't think I've seen a bad livery or even a slightly bad one so far. Obviously, this is a very nice looking Formula 1 car. I wish they'd stayed looking like this, to be honest.
It truly is.
Which certainly helps, but no, very nicely done. And I want to remind you all quickly that many of the guys racing here are actually under certain sponsorship obligations. So many of the decals you see here are actual sponsors, which is, it brings deliveries that slight level up, I gotta say, compared to just slapping on some liveries of stuff you think sounds cool or looks nice. Many of these things are legit, guys.
Very much so. Just since last time we've said this, I think we've had quite a number of people join the stream, so a very warm welcome to all of you that's joined within the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so. We are amidst the qualifying session, and we are waiting for B-Racer to make his way to the line. He is coming down towards the final chicane, and I was actually sent a map that had corner names for Dragon Trail. It turns out that the track actually has some names for some of these corners, and the final chicane is called Pluta Vijak.
Pluta Vijak.
Pluta Vijak. So that's gonna be that's gonna be interesting to see.
Can I see that?
Yeah, of course you can.
Ah, sick. Fromagna hairpin. Oh yeah, I'm gonna love saying that. B-Racer there also touches that wall.
Seems to have been a thing.
Loses less time or is more committed. Certainly he's 1.6.
10.6 opposite.
0.16, sixth up.
As he makes his way down towards the S's here, also a very tricky.
Gets a bit of a narrow entry to the second part there. That causes him to lift a bit more. He's going to lose a bit of time coming up here, I think.
But certainly still faster. It didn't look as fast, but it certainly was here as he goes a little bit wide on the exit, but I think he manages to keep the speed anyways.
Yeah, I think once you're on the curb like that, you're not able to put down the power completely. That will have cost him just that tiny bit, but he's looking very fast here, very committed.
Perfect line
to the earlier two guys we've seen.
Perfect line.
He knows the time he has to beat. He knows what needs to be done, and he's doing it. This is going to be
so. B-Racer here, he is going to beat it.
119.5.
So far we've had the first three drivers all bettering the times that were previously set.
Yep, edging each other out.
And this one just with just under 0.2 of a second, so still a bit of difference going in there. And now we are, of course, waiting for the next driver to be the number 75 car, of course, of Romain 0096. And there he goes. What is that?
Fight Club Red Bull?
Fight Club Red Bull, yeah, it could be.
Rule number
it's
one.
Overmal team. Oh, that's a lovely livery as well.
Yeah. Nicely done as well.
Yeah, the livery game.
I want to do a livery for that car. It has such nice shapes for it as well. You can do so many things. Oh yeah, just testing out the firmness of that barrier on his outlap. Cleverly done. We haven't yet seen a car get through the Port Chicane without just grazing or even hitting that wall.
That is true. And just a little mention to this also that for the last race we were running heavy damage, but for this race the organizer has chosen to be a bit more lenient, you could say, towards the drivers, and they've chosen to run the race with a light damage setting.
Yeah.
So damage doesn't necessarily mean having to go to the pits. It actually doesn't mean having to go to the pits at all. It is just some time where you'll be losing time, but you won't be completely out of the race if you have a slight touch coming out of the Port Chicane, as one or two drivers will by definition have. So I think that will make for better racing also in turn, because the drivers will be a bit less scared of taking risks and actually going for overtakes here and there when the opportunity arises. Here we have Romain coming out to his flying lap. He crosses the line there.
Looking for that all-important exit coming out of there. You need to be more patient than you expect. Getting on the throttle, coming through there.
Yeah, it is.
Time for the Port Chicane of Death. Will he touch the wall? Absolutely. 4 for 4 so far on touching that wall. He gets through the rest cleanly. Which line will he pick here? He's going for that wide one we saw earlier. Getting a nice strong exit there, looking very stable through the acceleration.
So as we did before,
should be doing well here, I expect.
Gets a little bit too wide there, and in turn, I think it shows on the speed he's able to carry it. Let's see the split time here. And for some reason we are not shown the split times there on this lap, so we'll just have to wait until we're at the line. It looked like a 49, but a high 49, so I think he's a little bit behind B-Racer at this point.
I suspect maybe we need to wait to switch cameras until they leave the pits. I think that might be why.
That might very well be why, yeah.
That was so urgent, I just had to call it out immediately. Because we certainly want those split times. Let's see what the final time is going to be here. Just a little bit off the pace there. He's almost 3/10 off the leader, B-Racer.
Very close with ATT, but just goes third fastest for the moments there, Romain. But a respectable lap nonetheless. And now with 4 drivers having done their respective flying laps, we are beginning to have a slight picture being painted here. As we have the first of the British drivers being called onto the track. It is ERT Wizard.
The first British driver and indeed the first racer of the Iris Racing team. A very popular team, not only in the whole GTPlanet world, but indeed in our chat. So let's give a special shout out to that team getting their race underway here.
But just having a look at it, and not that I actually was completely aware of this, but Bellin is actually also racing for Iris tonight. And I know that he is also a very active community member on the Iris Discord.
Yeah, perhaps this will not figure completely because we also have the other guy who's racing under Tasmania.
We have Olegna,
who's also won't figure on the timing board, and he's racing for the Iris Racing team as well. So Iris Racing team very, very strongly represented here.
Also, this livery game that we've been mentioning before, this San Carlo Honda Castrol livery, looking very, very nice. love the cream white tone.
Yeah, nice to see some more 80s color schemes being called out than the usual GTPlanet, as bright as you can get color palette that you see most of the time.
You know, it's Wizard, and he's looking for the perfect exit. And now he is upon his flying lap. Let's see how he goes. Turn 1. Get a tidy exit.
Goes a bit narrow, doesn't quite get the width of the track.
Yeah, I also
under control, and that's gonna hurt him a little bit.
Looked like he also missed the apex a little bit. Oh, and he goes massively wide there. And massively wide isn't really gonna say it. He just hits the wall and gets crushed in the Port Chicane, the Chicane of Death.
But keep in mind that he still has to run with everything he's got here, because I don't think he's gonna be the only one.
Nah, somebody else might.
Will still probably matter in a slight way. So, and I think he knows that as well. He seemed to get the car under control. I think perhaps a few quick punches to the steering wheel, and then he's off again.
I think certainly that Wizard will be frustrated with this one. And can we have some Fs in chat for that mishap there at the Port Chicane? And of course, that's gonna put him towards the back of affairs, without a doubt.
Bellin might be sick and he might be racing, but he's still quick with those Fs.
Yeah, that
burst on the scoreboard with that F. Impressive stuff there, Mr. Bellin.
Shows his lightning quick reactions. So Wizard is gonna cross the line, and he is 19 seconds down there with a 139 or so?
It's funny you see
138.
Soki dub the Chicane of Champs, and indeed that one left side wall does remind you of the Wall of Champions.
Yeah.
What track is that on?
That's in Canada. That's in Montreal.
Yep, exactly. The Wall of Champions
Wall of
in
Champions.
Montreal that most of the fast guys seem to touch in real world F1.
So yet to go, we have TRL Lightning, we have Olegna, Dr. Rob, we have Jomas, also of course one of the race organizers and really one of the ones to watch tonight. We have RC Soki, also really one of the top contenders, and TRL, also TRL drivers Perpi and Og get to run, with also GT Alex and Tichney at the end of affairs.
Sorry you guys, I just have to laugh when I look at the guys racing in this lobby. I hope you can appreciate what caliber of grid this is. This is insane. And I do believe it was a random order, but it seems to have saved most of the best for last. This is going to be a stunning few laps we have ahead of us as Shamar gets his lap underway. The first driver we've seen to warm up the tires there.
Yeah, to actually...
Maybe just warm up his arms a bit.
But look at that way, that line through the chicane seemed a little more composed than anything actually we've seen before, and seen a little more determined.
Certainly one of the more composed outlaps we've seen. He seems to have that control just dialed in.
There's a little bit more warming up here.
Just warming up those tires a little bit. This was the first livery of the race that we saw in one of our little insider sneak previews, and I gotta say it's a very good looking one as well. Very classic, could certainly fit right in the 80s.
That AS Monaco scheme that he's using for his cars does seem to work for everything.
Yeah.
Basically. As we are on board with Shomar here, he is coming down towards the start-finish line. And as he crosses it, that means he is upon his flying lap here, coming into turn 1. Just manages to keep in the car in towards the apex. He uses all the track.
Very composed, maybe even just a little bit patient on the throttle to make sure that he got that perfect exit.
Now
So-
down towards the Port Chicane here. Does he take it cleanly? Very much so. That was a brilliant line there.
Shomar
from
did it,
Shomar.
ladies and gentlemen. The first of the qualifiers to not touch the Wall of Champions.
And as a result of that, he is now already over 2/10 up on the previous fastest time there set by B-Racer. It was looking very good in turn for Shomar here at the moment.
Using all of the curb on the left-hand side, going nice and wide through the second part there. Just on the white line. That was a perfect delivery through that series of corners.
Very nice, but in turn actually having lost a little bit of time to the time of B-Racer there.
Yeah.
And now a little bit under 2/10 as he comes down towards the final chicane. Downhill there, very much clips the apex and does the same now. Gets a very good exit it seems. Not too much curb. Gets cleanly away. Let us see. Will he go on provisional pole?
Well, I think he will, Dirten.
And he very much will. That was a brilliant banger of a time there. A 1:18.9 basically.
Yeah. I
Super
gotta
lap.
say, I was pretty confident in that assumption because those last few corners were just dialed in. That's certainly the best last sector we've seen from the races.
Time for us to check out Dr. Rob. The drivers are now getting called out at a quicker pace, so we're not really getting to catch all of the outlap here. It is the Sony liveried car of Dr. Rob. Of course, also hello to Kenny. Kenny is hosting this race. He's hosting the lobby, and he is of course also one of the series organizers. So Dr. Rob here through turn 1.
Dr. Rob seemed to just carry maybe a bit too much speed in the first part of that corner. He seemed to have to lift off more than the other guys.
Yeah, but he did
certainly
make it
wasn't
into the
It
apex.
was a fast entry and he did clip the apex
Yeah,
just
exactly.
as he wanted to.
Oh, but he also clips the wall there. And it seems to be enough that he actually might have a little bit of damage lingering for a couple of seconds, but he gets a little bit of sideways action there. Out of that left-hand hairpin, the beach hairpin as it's called. And then down through the S's. And they just get slower and slower for each one. And that's a difficult exercise indeed. Also without that curve on the outside of the last corner in those S's. So it seems Dr. Rob might be a little bit of way down on the best time so far set by Jomas. And indeed, Lightning has been the fastest in practice so far. It will be really interesting to see whether he can put in that kind of time here today as well in qualifying.
Certainly all of the time so far as we see Dr. Rob. Let's just focus on what sort of time he's going to get. It's going to be a 1:20 point highs.
Yeah.
The graphics playing us a hecking puzzle here, not giving us much of the information we wanted.
Wasn't really much time. Next driver up is going to be a really interesting one to follow. It's TRL AUG. So the first of the TRL drivers in turn. And after AUG, it is Lightning. So TRL AUG coming down towards turn 1. And with the late apex there indeed, gets a very good exit it seems. Very orderly also. Will he make his way down through the chicane safely?
Raises it, but that might not have cost him too much. Looked very soft. He goes for cutting across the entry and then going wide. Gets a bit of loose tail action on the exit. That's gonna cost him a little bit, but it might have been because he was able to press that bit harder.
Seems to be very fast through this section indeed.
Very fast there. Just kicks up a little bit of dust.
And he is almost 2/10 faster than Shomar at this point, but he goes wide there out of that final hairpin.
He will have had to lift because he went all the way across the curb, but by how much? How much did it cost him?
Shomar was flying through the last sector as he also misses that first of the 2 apexes in the final chicane. That might have cost him the lap. It'll be interesting to see here, TRL AUG. And he's not gonna make it, he's gonna be some way off, he's gonna be half a second off, provisionally second now. We're gonna switch immediately at the moment. And as you mentioned before, Trials, the star parade of name just keeps on rolling. And once you see it in this kind of fashion, where you really get presented with the driver one by one, it is very, very, very impressive what kind of strength of field have been amassed at this event. Now, do you want more coffee, sir?
Of course, I want more coffee.
Yes, sir. No surprise, I also want more coffee. So,
Dirten wanting coffee, maybe the strongest and most continuous of all the memes on Half the Race Gone.
Yeah, no one has actually really picked up on it yet, except for ourselves.
I'm not sure it's an intentional meme either, but it's certainly a meme.
It is. It is. Now Tichny making his way down through the chicane. Oh, that was a brilliant one.
Second driver not to touch the wall. What?
He is also now
cutting across, then going wide. Getting a perfect exit. Deciding not to put too much of the car onto the curb. I think that's the right move. I think there's more traction on the tarmac.
Very much so, as we've seen also when running ourselves in a bit of practice here. Tichny
does push the car wide enough, but he lifts too much.
Downshifts a little bit late. I think he might have lost some time there, but he is certainly he's still purple, but it's only by 20 hundredths of a second. Gets a good exit there from that last hairpin. Brilliant line through the kink.
Early downshifts to compose the car through there. Doesn't hold it wide for very long, but that looked very, very fast.
Yeah.
Squirming in third gear, I believe.
That was a very short way through, indeed. And
is he gonna beat it?
He is gonna beat it, but only just as Tichny takes provisional pole by 27 hundredths of a second. Just besting out the time of Chomar there. So, very well done by Tichny indeed, and let's go have a look at the next driver. He's just starting his flying lap. As we mentioned, it is Desmania Olegnia Desmania, or just Olegna maybe. I really like that name. Anyways, he's just made his way out of turn 1, and is now making his way down through the Port Chicane.
Doesn't touch the wall, looks very, very composed, maybe slightly less committed than the other drivers. See, he goes for the
a little bit
wide line, and that doesn't work out for him.
And let's see to which degree that has compromised the lap of Olegna here. Because it certainly did rub off some speed there as he struggled for grip.
He goes all the way across the curb there. That doesn't hurt, but it looks dangerous. So does that squirmy moment, getting back on the power. I think he's pushing very hard, trying to make up what he lost. And that's a very dangerous strategy to decide on.
And next driver up is of course Soki. He's doing his outlap as we have.
Meanwhile, Olegna is just balling that line. That was absolutely perfect through there.
And I've gained some time on many of the competitors through the last section there. Let's see what he crosses the line with.
Close, unfortunately.
Yes. That is going to be in the high 20s as well, just after Dr. Rob. And the only guy behind him at the moment is Wizard, who turned also so far is the only driver to really have made a big mistake and really hit the wall hard.
Is that a stock livery? Or is that just a very stock looking livery?
That is, I think that might be. I think it actually is. I think it is. Or we might not be seeing the livery. That also sometimes is a thing. So of course we are following Suki 88 alongside of Tichny, the winner of the 3 hours of Catalonia race. So certainly one of the drivers we are expecting great things from as he absolutely wipes out there through that chicane. Oh, F's out for Soki there.
First driver we've seen clip the first part of the chicane. I gotta say that's what it felt like I was doing a lot of the time when I was trying out the track and the car. Very unfortunate there, but as I mentioned before, it does still count this one, and he certainly was quicker to recover than Wizard, the other unfortunate qualifier so far. He recovered very, very quickly, and he's back on it, so I don't suspect, pending a clean lap here for the rest of his running, I don't think he'll start at the back.
No, I think he'll be in front of Wizard if he keeps it on the track through the last kink and the final chicane here. So we have, of course, Lightning, then we're gonna have Alex, and then TRL Perpi finishing off the qualifying session as we are getting near the end of the session here. We still have Tichny on top spot right in front of Shomar and Og with Olegna in 9th position. I was just about to say 4th, but that is of course because we are watching Soki here, who places in provisional 10th place. And that in turn, ladies and gentlemen, means that it's time to follow the one and only TRL Lightning.
That was quite nicely timed. Oh, yeah, just on the limit there.
Very much so. Let's see if he can make his way through the Chicane of Death, the Port Chicane.
Without touching the Wall of Champions. The Wall of Champions being a reverse Wall of Champions.
And he's up on Tichny's time by a 10th of a second here.
And he goes onto the curb, accelerating with the right tires completely on the curb.
And then he stays all the way to the right, which we haven't really seen.
Different line from what we've seen all the other guys running.
Gets the car all the way to the left there and carries so much speed through there that is absolutely flying. And he is 7/10 of a second up on the time of Tichny. TRL Lightning, if he can keep this composure through the final chicane here, he is gonna blast away the competition here in qualifying. That is a beast of a lap. That is an amazing lap time.
Just on the limit of where you want to be on that curve as well. This is gonna be by almost a second, ladies and gentlemen.
So this is gonna be a 1:17.9 from TRL Lightning here in qualifying. Can we have some applause for that? Because that was simply fantastic. What a lap from Lightning there. I have to say, stunning lap. That was flawless.
Being said, if you want anyone to try to beat that, these two guys might not be too bad. GT Alex certainly aggressively warming up his tires here.
That's very experienced, and look,
quite a cool technique actually.
Check out that livery. That is beautiful. I like that.
Yeah, it's nicely looking. It's very nice.
So GT Alex is coming on to his hot lap, his qualifying lap here, his one and only shot. And this will in turn also, of course, determine his grid position. That is what qualifying is. Anyways.
Just get a tiny bit of understeer there.
Seems to be going a little too slowly there on the exit. But he does make it through the chicane very quickly.
Stays off the reverse Wall of Champions. Goes for the wide line.
Oh, that might have been...
That might be very fast indeed.
He just put a front tire off, and it just didn't really seem in turn to put him off, really, because he managed to keep the car composed, and he managed to turn the car in, and he seems flying through the S's here. He looks very fast. Let's see the time up here underneath that board. That was in the high 48s, I think, so impressive stuff. Now is just the final sector left to go. As he really seems to be carrying
just a bit wider through there. That's what I think is better probably, but it's very hard to do. This is stonkingly fast as well.
That is actually going to be a very fast lap from
very close.
Alex, let's see where this goes. Second.
By 6/10. It wasn't even as close as we thought.
It wasn't as close as we thought, but it was
strong running from GT Alex here.
Given that Lightning obliterated the rest of the grid on that qualifying lap, placing himself in second there is very strong indeed. So very nice work. Also from one of the series organizers there, GT Alex. Now we have the last guy to qualify before we're gonna have the race commencing, and that is of course second place finisher TRL Perpi. It seems we have quite a bit of lag actually on Perpi here.
Quite some issues with the connection there. Hopefully he will get that sorted before the race. Perpi in a very nice chrome and Spanish flag themed Fanatec sponsored car.
And it's a very beautiful one with the Spanish flag there.
It's gonna be harder to call out anything about how he does on track here, because basically he could be just about anywhere, but it's looking very fast. Certainly very composed, staying on the curb all the way there. I think that's a good move as well.
We're just gonna jump on board. It is TRL Perpi. Makes a nice exit, it seems, to that final corner. Let's see how the time compares at the line. It's gonna be an okay one, I suspect. Though not... Oh, actually a very good time there. Third best for TRL Perpi. 7/10 down on Lightning there, and only a 10th down on GTLeague. And so we have the grid set on pole position. It is Mick Hissal, the missile. I'm sorry, I said I wasn't gonna say that, but I couldn't resist. He is on pole position. TRL Lightning, of course, in front of GTLeague with a very impressive time there. 6/10 down on Lightning, then a 10th down on him. TRL Perpi in third position with Tichney placing in there fourth on the grid. So, and actually with Tichney, we did see him make a little bit of a mistake there in the S's, so putting in a lap that was fourth anyway does show that he has a pace that might actually be for more there. Joe Ma here at the end in fifth position with Ork in sixth. Ork was really fast there at Catalunya in his stint, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do once the race gets going. B-Racer, seventh on the grid there in front of AGT. Romain 0096 is in ninth position in front of Bellin, who is in turn 10th, with Dr. Rob in 11th, Olegna in 12th, then it's Soki in 13th position, and rounding off the grid in 14th, it is ERT Wizard. But both Soki and Wizard having had some quite bad accidents, and actually also, if I don't remember completely wrong, Olegna also had a little bit of trouble there on his lap.
Yeah, Olegna having a few very unfortunate lines that cost him a lot. Nicely held, they could have easily been accidents, but it certainly did cost him quite a lot in the running. So,
just a quick round off of the starting procedure. Standing start, we're gonna have the full start check on,
yeah,
of course, which is gonna make it. It's a real start, and of course there is no ABS, so we might see quite a lot of wheel spin as we get off from the line. And mind you that, as we've mentioned before, but it's been some time since very close to 1,000 horsepower for this 500 and some kilo car. Now we're gonna go to race setting, which is at 80% power. I think it's 86% power, and it turns gives out something around 840 horsepower. And we're gonna switch from the racing medium compound to the racing hard compound for the race. So we are gonna see lap times drop, and we just so that you're not completely confused about what happens with the lap times once we get the race going.
Yeah, but I think definitely a good call to run a bit less power and maybe a bit less grippy tires.
Yeah.
So you're not running at those same extreme speeds, and maybe running at a different level of grip, where if you make a mistake, it's a different reaction you'll get. I think that'll permit some closer racing and maybe a bit more action between the cars. So a good call there from the organizers. As you can see, if you're reading the chat here in the lobby, the cars will now have 798 brake horsepower.
798, yeah.
Which is a lot.
Which is still in turn,
but less.
It's a lot, but less.
Less a lot.
It's less a lot. Sir, less a lot. So everyone now being ordered on track and to go past sector 1 to get the grid order right, I suppose. No, we have the... No, it's just to go on track. Oh, anyways.
Just the final few things to get organized here before the race.
Yeah, we are getting very, very close to the get-go to having the drivers line up on the grid. And then in terms, of course, having the green flag drop upon them, it's gonna be so interesting to see. And also a very short run down to turn 1, but nevertheless a turn 1 that does invite to
T1 Mayhem?
Yeah,
absolutely. It's sloping downhill. It's certainly not cambered in a way you want for a T1. I hope everyone is able to be just that little bit patient because these cars do slide a bit under braking as well.
Yeah, very much so. I believe that...
I believe as well, Dirt.
I believe that the drivers will be well aware that it is a 300-kilometer race, and no race of this distance is won on the first lap, and it can easily be thrown away, though, however, on the first lap, and I think all the drivers will be very mindful of that. We have a little bit of racing action going on right now. It is B-Racer.
Just as we get mention from Jomar, one of the organizers, the start will be in about 5 minutes.
The start will...
Just a quick chance for the racers to jump out of their seats, jump out of their cars, and freshen up maybe.
And have a wee.
Have a wee wee.
Have a wee wee. Have a wee wee wee. No, I'll stop.
said the French Scotsman. A wee wee wee.
So, also just an opportunity for any of you viewers to grab a hold of whatever refreshments you'll be needing for the race. We guarantee that it's going to be just over an hour or so, a bit more than that, of very intense action indeed.
I do, in fact, believe it might be time also to bring in some of our other supplies. I'm, of course, talking about the beers I brought.
Oh, pre-race beers. I was thinking we could have this sort of drinking game where you can take, well, it's only going to be beer.
Probably we shouldn't play it because we're the broadcasters.
Yeah, of course. But anyone wanting to have a couple of Friday night drinks, it is, of course, in most of Europe, I suppose, the eve of going on Christmas vacations. So Merry Christmas to everyone.
That's
by the
a nice
way
thing to say. Merry Christmas, y'all.
And in turn, if anyone is consuming alcoholic beverages out there, you could make a drinking game where you drink whenever somebody goes off into Chicane of Death. But perhaps I think these drivers might just be a little bit too good for it to make sense. But
I'm not sure. They're going on hard tires and they're going to be chasing after each other. I expect quite a few casualties going towards that Chicane of Death. Here we see a bit of a taste of what to expect.
It's pole setter Sierra Lightning just getting in trouble.
Hopefully not a taste of what to expect.
Oh my.
I think that was a bit of a glimpse into how hard it's going to be to stay close together in these cars. I think the cars are very low, so once you get too close, you're pretty much just blinded.
Yeah.
I don't know if Dirty As Animated is in this game. It's been discussed. People aren't really sure.
I'm quite sure it is.
Very, very hard.
I'm quite sure it is. From talking from my own experience of driving.
Sure, yeah, but that's totally anecdotal.
Yeah, but I am quite convinced that
it is.
Okay.
I'm on the other side of that fence.
Find time to discuss that later on.
What do you think in the chat?
That's a very good question.
Tatiana certainly thinks it is a thing. Do we know? Do we know if it's a thing? Hit us up, chat, with the opinions and knowledge.
Give us the chat knowledge. It's in. Friendly bump there from two teammates, TRL Lightning and Peppy there.
It's nice to see a lot of these drivers getting a bit of their frustrations out. Speaking of frustrations, a guy that's probably feeling a bit cheated and a bit disappointed is Tichney, because he set a very fast lap early on, and as we were talking about, it also serves as a marker for the other guys. Yeah, and I think we certainly saw the next few faster guys being more committed through the Port Chicane, being more committed through the faster parts of the S's that has individual names that I've forgotten.
Could they actually also have been able to follow the other drivers around the track and actually watch what the lines they took and be able to maybe even make a decision and change one of their own lines if they saw something was quicker?
I don't think that would be wise to change it this late on. You have one attempt.
That's a good point.
I don't think that's the way to go, but I do think that many of the races we saw qualifying on 118s, even some of the guys on 119s, I think they were pretty comfortably running very, very low 118s, possibly even 117s in practice, and sort of knew that was their pace. But because of the format of the SuperPole, I think they were just holding off a little bit, bringing that little bit more into the first part of the Port Chicane, being that bit more patient on the entries to some of the other corners. I just think that's a lot of what we saw, maybe.
Yeah, it might
of
very
course,
well
that
be.
doesn't explain Lightning being almost 6/10 ahead of the other guys. I think that was fully committed, the best pace he could set, and with no fear.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have the final getting underway. And that also means, of course, that we will have the grid order being displayed to you on screen in a few moments of time, as we went through it shortly before, but we'll gladly do so again. Of course, on pole position, it is TRL Lightning with a brilliant lap time of 1:17.9. They're in front of GTLeague, Perpi, Tichny, Shomar. It's TRL Org, B-Racer, ATT, Romain, and Bellin, and that is all I can pick of it actually throughout the top 10 there, but definitely a strong field indeed. And just to have the lap times on, we do like this, and it is on TRL Lightning with the standing start here, and off they go, and massive amounts of wheel spin
all around. Almost hard to see what's going on here. Alex has had an amazing start. He's clear coming into the first corner.
Oh!
Lightning defends second position but goes a little wide. Schumacher is just lurking there. He's made it up into third position. Perpi in fourth with Tichny losing out, going back into fifth.
And B-Racer really looking to lose out there because he's down in sixth position. ATT down in seventh also. Romain, let's have a look there. Alex making it cleanly through. And down the... Everybody seems to make it through the chicane here on the first lap here. Dr. Rob. Still it is Alex leading out on the first lap. And he's looking very strong indeed. Just goes a little wide on the entrance there. And now he's gonna hold off. Oh, Lightning, my God, that was very, very close and sketchy. Look how he makes up time in the braking zone there. But
I didn't notice it didn't cost him too much going into the grass there, but he certainly didn't hold off on braking late either. See, Schumacher is also making up the time there, closing the gap a bit. Or Jomas, as some people call him, he is French. So.
I would say Schumacher is probably closer to being correct, if I know my French correctly. There it is now, GTLeague trying to defend from TRL Lightning. Lightning goes to the outside as they come down towards turn one. Slight bit of a squeeze. Will he be able to go around there?
He's certainly carrying enough speed to do so. He does go a bit wide and has to tuck back in behind.
That was very close indeed. Now a little bit behind this, it is Perpi and ATT going at it. ATT up into P5 at the moment, so Tichny having had a little bit of a bad start there. And
Great start from ATT. He's
and that is the curse of the commentator, as Charles just mentions it, and he goes absolutely wrong. F's out. Can we have a replay for this here? And we're gonna follow FTT as he comes in to the chicane.
FTT.
FTT. ATT, of course. What actually happened there? That looked a little bit strange indeed. But he's all the way down the order at the moment now.
That's rotten luck if that's what actually happened.
Very much indeed. Now look at GTLeague. Has actually been pulling away a little bit from Lightning, though over the last couple of moments he's just been pulling back a little bit. It seems to be going up and down through the different sections of the track. GTLeague looking to have a very strong pace here with the race setup on the hard tires here. It's Chomar really keeping within contention as well in third position. He has a 4-second lead down to Perpi, who's now trying to make a run from Tichy in fifth position. He in turn is also trying to run away from TRL, who is in sixth but still close behind Tichy. And it is Soki is up into seventh. So can we just say that this guy started second to last on the grid, and he is now, of course, defending from B Racer, who's also gone backwards there. But Soki looking very, very strong indeed.
Great line through there. Great speed. You saw the gap he built through there. Sets his own best lap here out of the two. He's been able to run at max speed. Just steps out across that curb and has to lift a little bit, as you see.
B Racer goes right past there. He gets a much better exit and is just able to thread through lightly. And now he is up into seventh position. Still Soki having had a very nice couple of...
Chomar passes.
And Chomar passes Alex as well. Looks like Alex, yes, he has damage indeed. And it's going to go away in a couple of seconds, but he certainly lost a lot of time there on having some kind of contact with something we might be able to just capture on. That was not what I wanted to do, and now it's too late. So sorry about that. But anyways, poor luck for GTLeague, who will now have to be fighting for his way back, and that leaves Lightning alone in the front as Alex thinks about having a dive on his compatriot Chomar, who's now into second position but doesn't really manage to get the proper run there. He was a
little bit frustrated there. He's obviously got the pace. He made up that little gap to Chomar in no time at all, but just seems a bit heavy-footed right now. He hits the wall as well. So Chomar pulls out a little bit again, and I believe Alex would have liked to make a diving move through there, but he's unable to as a result of just touching that wall.
But we also see both those drivers really aiming for a good exit, because it seems to be all important here. Now the slipstream coming into play for GTLeague, but he also wants to get out of the dirty air that is there, we guess, here, as he really loses out a lot.
Certainly might have looked like dirty air affecting him when he was switching directions there. Also, Chomar was just on a crazy fast.
Chomar setting in a very good pace. Another one setting in a brilliant pace at the moment is indeed TRL. He's up into sixth position, having gotten past B Racer early on here, and is now looking to pressure Tichy in front of him. And in front of those two, it is of course still TRL Perpi.
But so where's Suki? Suki's gone.
Suki has gone a little bit backwards. Suki is down now into 10th position. It's Olegna having made his way through with Roman 0096. Oh, sketchy moment for Olegna.
Just get the pass done though. It looked like that was more of an evasive maneuver by the end than a passing move, but he held it off.
Certainly did. Strong one there, also a best personal lap for him. Here it is Bellin doing battle to Dr. Rob. It is of course ATT and Wizard also having lost out on the opening. He is far way back here, so poor luck for ERT Wizard. F's out in chat for this fella, who must have had some poor luck here over the opening couple of rounds. TRL Lightning is flying away at the moment, and he's up to a 2.5 second gap. Now down to Chomar in second position.
Has a discernible gap on Chomar here, on Alex, sorry, which I don't think is what we were expecting. It's still building up. Chomar is on a blazing pace we perhaps haven't quite seen from him in the early parts and indeed in qualifying.
Suki calls out a safety car.
Suki must have made another mistake. Yeah, he's second to last now.
Certainly is, so poor luck for Suki as well there. Lightning building on his advantage now, setting in the fastest time of the race so far, with a 1:23.1 seems to be flying at the moment. Let's have a look at the battle for fourth position. And it's of course Perpi trying to defend from Tichy, who in turns get a poor exit there, it seems. Might open the door for Ork, who is getting very close behind it. We have a yellow flag in front. And who is that? That is of course Alex, who is now going way down the order, and that looks like heavy engine damage. He is really suffering GT Alex.
Has to get out of the way here.
Oh, that is. Just gets out of the way of the faster moving cars there. It seems his car is about to be back.
Came out.
Must have been indeed.
Oh.
So now Perpi indeed, or in turn, is up into third position.
Oh my word, what a race he's had here from the beginning. He only has a 5-second gap up to Chimard, so he's not out of it by any means yet.
Certainly not. We are by no means getting that far into the race. And
what a shame for Alex.
He was going
showing
so well.
Perhaps the fastest pace on the track. He was able to hold off Lightning, who had that blazing fast qualifying
lap.
Brilliant start even there. Build a bit on the gap.
Yeah.
And it looked so consistent. It looked even a bit careful still, but just not able to hold it together, and getting the rhythm back after that initial incident is so impossible. So very, very hard to do.
That's very difficult indeed. Now
he's not able to get that done today. Tichney here.
Perpi is beginning to build.
I think we have quite a bit of a battle going on behind us, because I just saw 3 position changes there.
That is Org with the...
Tichney just got ahead of Org, and B-Racer is very close to Org now. Tichney passed Org shortly before we switched, and already the gap is 1.3 seconds.
But so I think Tichney's been in front of Org the entire time, if I'm not completely mistaken here. Because it's been Perpi holding off Tichney also for quite some time in that battle for what was 4th position until GT Alex went badly wrong there. But anyways, now Ork, having lost a little bit of time, might have made a little mistake. B-Racer getting close there from behind. Oman is now up into 7th position, so looking strong there, very consistent so far from the Frenchman, with Bellin in 8th position, now having to do battle with the very swift, but also seemingly a little bit unstable GT Alex. And lower down the order, of course, it is Olegna in 10th, and Dr. Rob with the also unlocked souls of AGT, Soki, and Wizard behind. Lightning, the gap is very steady at the moment, down to Shamar in 2nd position. And Perpi, last time we checked, it was around 5 seconds. Now it is 6.2 seconds. So he is getting a little bit isolated here, because in turn he is also just pushing his advantage. And as I say that, Tichney takes a big chunk very big chunk of time out that gap, and now he's back into the slipstream. A little bit of lag I think we're seeing from Perpi. I hope the racers aren't seeing this as well, because that is of course a shame if it is. Now Tichney on a very fast first sector there.
Tichney has been charging for the last lap and a half, but so too has Org behind him. He's made up a bit of the gap as well. And this is actually quite close together between these 3 now.
It is 3 cars within just about a second. Such a shame with the lack of Perpi there in front, because it does in turn makes it a little bit difficult to predict the movement of his car. Here, Org seems to be going very well there in the braking zone as he goes off! Just as I mentioned it, TRL Org, and let's just capture what happened here as he goes wide and just gets too early on the power. It also is in turn very difficult to nurse this one back, so fair play to Org there, but bad luck for him, really losing out a lot of time. Now B-Racer up into 5th position.
Meanwhile, in the chat, we're getting confirmation that at least Tichney indeed does see a bit of lag on Perpi, which is really unfortunate, but hopefully they'll be able to carry through nonetheless. Oh, it does look very scary up there. Can you switch to Tichney, please?
Yeah, it's Tichney indeed.
He got the pass done on Perpi.
Oh, he got the pass done on Perpi.
It looked very, very sketchy. We saw just a little bit of it up in front. You see he gets a very, very strong exit there. But he doesn't even really know how much he needs to go on the outside. You see he gets pushed all the way out.
Yeah, I see. Very much.
Goes in, then out again. But he does get it done before the Port Chicane. A brave place to do it.
Very much. He pushed his advantage through there.
Perpi must have had some type of damage, because B-Racer's immediately into 4th position as well.
Trouble for TRL Perpi now. In the race already seeming to take its toll on quite a number of the drivers. Seems to be quite quite difficult to keep the consistency here once more on the place where Ork had his accident not too long ago. He is now 6 seconds down on Perpi, and in turn 3 seconds in front of Roma. who is in 7th position with Bellin in 8th. Now let's check in with the leader. It is, of course, TRL Lightning. Mick Hissal, he is flying along, and he's extended his gap ever so slightly. He is now just in the vicinity of 3 seconds in front of Chomar in 2nd position, and is pushing out some very strong lap times. He is also the holder of the fastest lap at the moment with a 1:22.8. Chomar here, though, still close to.
Yeah, he's on a very, very good pace. It hasn't really built out that much since we last mentioned it. 3 seconds is only about 6/10 worse than it was before.
Yeah.
So it's all still to play. Just as I say that, he actually makes up 2/10. So Chomar is on a pace where he certainly isn't getting left in the dust of Lightning by any means. Tichny seems to be on a similar one, but all of that battling and bad luck in the beginning has left him almost 10 seconds behind. So he certainly has a lot of work to do if he wants to get into the battle for the win here.
Indeed. Indeed, but finally something he hasn't had for the first 10 laps so far is really that clean space in front of him. And he seems to just have that now, so he might be able to just push through some kind of advantage. He is at the moment gaining a little bit on B-Racer behind the gap at the moment, just around 2 seconds. But B-Racer has actually made a very, very strong recovery from suffering from a little bit of a bad start, losing a little bit of position there on the first couple of laps, but then in turn just keeping it consistent. And that is, of course, the way to go now. Og in 5th position in front of Perpi. I'm not sure this was the way last time around. There's now Bellin also overtakes, so Perpi once more having had some kind of issue, I believe. Let's see if you can just catch what happened there before. Certainly doesn't look like it. We were probably late on that one. Maybe he's just gotten a bad exit there before.
And you have to wonder if tires might already be a bit of a factor here. 11 laps in with a tire wear of 5.
That might actually very much be a concern for the drivers. This possible way is really going to be the victor in the long run here, I'd suppose. It is TRL Lightning still leading. Chomar
built up a little bit on that gap. It's 7/10 more than last time we looked.
Yeah, and just piling on a bit more now, so it's up to a second actually almost since last time we had a look at that.
A fast sequence of corners for Chomar just before we caught him there, and that's gonna cost him a little bit.
The gap down to Tichny here from Chomar in second is still very much the same. As we have a big bunch of cars down here with the Bellin, Perpi, and then it's GT Alex who's charging up through the field now, trying to make some kind of recovery after his incidents there. Roman now down into 9th position here as
gets the inside, but Perpi's gonna squeeze him a bit.
Yeah, but he also has the speed advantage. I think this is game over for Perpi unless he can cause some kind of cutback move here. Does go for the wide entrance there, so he might get a very good exit and turn. But I think
not gonna be enough.
Certainly not.
Anything coming up towards the Port Chicane.
Strong move there from GT Alex. Really seems to be on a better pace than his track position suggests, and he also is now next target up in front is Bellin, just about 1.5 seconds in front as we go on board with the Frenchman.
1.5 seconds, but it just went down to 1 second.
That went very quickly, just as I said it.
Towards Bellin, who's not on a bad pace by any means, almost as if he's standing still. Just look at this gap being eaten up. Oh, Bellin there also, there, yeah. Maybe even feeling the heat a little bit.
Oh, and somebody's gone.
Somebody's pulling off there.
What exactly? What that's?
Who that?
Who that? That's Wizard. Maybe just getting out of the way for traffic, because he is, of course, being blue flagged at the moment. So we're gonna go back here with the Bellin and the ever closing shade, the white shade of GT Alex.
See it coming down through 10s.
Oh, he's getting very close now.
He has so much pace, he's going to be able to make a move already.
He goes around, he goes on the outside of Bellin there.
Not going to work.
I suspect it might on the exit. That was a brilliant move there from...
Great show of respect from Bellin, just giving him the space that he didn't maybe even need to give him.
Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. as they just come round, and you'll see GTLeague just getting the superior exit there. Such a strong move there, a brilliant one. And now they're still very close. Belling fighting for his chance to stay in 6th position, but GTLeague gets the exit upon him there and is now really moving away. And the gap already 7/10 of a second. Behind these two it is Romain. There is 3 seconds both in front and behind. And then behind him it is Olegna with 2 seconds down to Dr. Rob. Then a little bit of space down to the following cars. Gonna check in with Lightning, who's now 5 seconds up on Chomar in 2nd position. Hasn't pushed his pace out, but the consistency of TRL Lightning seems to be somewhat unmatched, at least here on the opening 14 laps, as he is on a purple.
And he's on just slightly faster of a lap, 14 laps in. If we're talking about tire wear, this is a guy that certainly knows how to handle that.
And we just had a look at his last lap, which was also a 23.2. Yeah. So it's very consistent from Lightning here indeed.
I think Lightning, a very experienced driver, I think he's able to practice at a pace that doesn't wear the tires quite as much, and then just hold that and not slowing down as the other racers who's had to deal with traffic, who's had to deal with battles. Not slowing down as they start to suffer from tire wear is going to be such a strong thing to do, and I think that's part of the reason why he's now finally pulling out the gap beyond the 3 seconds he was staying at for the first 5 or 6 laps, 7 laps even, and then he started to build. Maybe even after the first 10 he wasn't even above 4 seconds, something like that, and now we're seeing it build.
Makes his way into turn 1,
Chomar,
and we have
into the pits.
First pit stop of the day. It is Chomar, and it also gives you a scope of the fuel that they will be able to, or how much fuel they've used so far. Actually, it was what I meant to say. He's in the pits, and he is with just under 30% of his fuel left. He makes his way out in 4th position, it would seem. Whereas Best B-Racer also coming into the pits, so the pit window seems
Alex
to be opening.
The pits early as well.
Alex also indeed. Bellin coming in as well. Bellin's in for his stop. So interesting to see where these guys come out now, and if there will be any real change in the order and the running order following this pit stop round here. Now B-Racer back out on track in 8th position. Alex is in 9th position now. Bellin coming out in 10th. As we also have AGT in the pits at the moment. He comes out right there. Herpy is so far back at the moment also. Bad luck. Herpy has really had some punishing couple of laps there. He's in the pits as well. So is RC Soki at the moment. Soki seems to be just parked. That might be a retirement for his sake. So not sure about that, but anyway, it's Lightning, and he is really just charging away at the moment. He is with a 16.8 second advantage down to Tichny in 2nd position. So let me just point out that it is by no means Mr. Nobody that Lightning is putting in this kind of gap to. Of course, Lightning had the advantage of much more clearing air in front of him during this race. Anyways, now it's Tyrrell up into 3rd position following that pit stop round, but I think he'll be somewhat too far behind Jonas to actually be able to make any kind of valid undercut there. Tyrrell with a last lap time of 1:24.1. So certainly a little bit off the pace also that we've seen Jonas put in here. As he's of course on the 27 with a pit lap, and that was in turn his out lap. He is now on his first flying lap after the pit stop, and you would expect to see him making up that time on Orc in front pretty quickly, especially here through the corners where the mechanical grip is so important, through these the downhill S-bands here on the reverse layout, and into the left hand hairpin here. We go online, I keep saying that, on board, of course it is, with Chomar here, the AS Monaco esports driver. Down into the final chicane, gets a very nice line there, seems to be on a very consistent pace, and through not that much time, He's pulled in a second of the advantage of GTLeague, but GTLeague choosing to stay out on track there, so there might be a couple of drivers who is in turn actually trying to save a little bit of that all-important fuel to just be able to make their stints a little longer, or has in turn maybe just been saving their tires to be able to still stay on pace. But as we saw with the Catalonia race, it takes quite a bit of nursing, and it takes quite a bit of extra laps to actually pull out an entire pit stop, an entire stint over the length of the race, and I think that's going to be a very difficult one to pull off. But we might just see some of these drivers going for it and seeing if they can make the tires last an entire tank of fuel. So that
absolutely, the strategy is coming into play here. Is certainly a main part of the drama we're going to see here. It's going to be very interesting to see how the gaps develop between cars in the later parts of stints, because this is certainly a car where worn tires really play a role.
So just to mention it, that Tichney has yet to pit, Ork has indeed also yet to pit, and he has just received a 6.8 second penalty. So a brutal penalty there received by GTLeague, and in turn he dives into the pit here just a couple of laps after the others. But yet in turn only 16% fuel left, so it is, when you add up all the stints, they're going to be going for what's looking like a 3-stop strategy at this rate. And he's in for the fueling here. And he is going to be passed by Romain, but Romain has yet to pit as well. And the same goes for Olegna. Olegna, who's just going to pass Ork here. So now we still need Tichney to pit. Tichney, who, let's just have a look on his last lap time, a 1:24.6. He's now around 18 seconds down on TR Lightning. And did Lightning pit yet? I don't think he did.
I know less than you. I was absent for the last.
You were just absent for a couple of minutes indeed. Well,
I wouldn't suspect that he was if he's 20 seconds behind.
No, he is not. He hasn't. He certainly hasn't. So that is certainly going to...
Tichney dives into the pits there.
Tichney's into the pits now. And in turn also think Lightning is going to have to pit soon. But Lightning has just been pushing his advantage for a long time now. And it'll be interesting to see if Chomar is able to do any kind of undercut to close the gap. And let's see what the gap is as Lightning comes into the pit. Because Chomar did pit in noticeably earlier than Lightning did. He did try to go for an undercut. He might have had an advantage here on those couple of laps he had with somewhat fresher tires here. Romain and Olegna also into the pits now. So that those are the last drivers that we were expecting to see come in. There is Olegna now taking on his fuel. Bellin in 7th position after the pit stop rounds here. So seems to be going pretty strongly. Just set personal best time for his sake. HT back up into 8th position as well. So strong work there from Frenchman.
Very, very nice recovery after that. Very tough luck in the beginning of the race.
Bellin there on a very nice line through the Port Chicane. Lightning, he has 29 seconds down to Chomar, and he seems to be actually just extending his gap all along the way. He's now coming to Pat Olegna on lap 20. That is impressive stuff. I wonder what's in the cookies he's eating.
I mean, it seems like it's other people's cookies he wants.
It might be...
It's powered by the energy in other people's cookies. Getting free cookies. Oh, and the heat of having the fastest... I'm gonna call it the fastest driver in the game.
In Europe, there is one Igor Fraga from Brazil who is up there, but it certainly seems to be those two, and then a lot of other guys who are very, very close on this very, very high level indeed. But what we are seeing here is just something special, something different from TRL Light. This is
flying into the pits here.
Flying into the pits indeed.
He did in fact lose a bit more than a second on that last lap, so I think he certainly felt the wear on those tires. But he did push his fuel all the way down to 5%, so absolutely maximizing the potential of his strategy. Looking very solid there.
It certainly is. We're seeing these. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the different strategies of drivers, the long stints versus the faster, shorter stints, how it's going to play out in the long run. We see Lightning just rimming the tank, and in turn that does leave Chomar a little ahead. And Chomar is not expecting as long a stint, so he'll also have a lighter car than Lightning at the moment. So he might be able to just build on that advantage a little bit, but for how long? Because in turn, the tires of Chomar at this moment will also already here beginning to be a little worn here, as Lightning might have a little bit of trouble adjusting to the added weight of all that fuel that's gone in his car there.
Yeah, just kisses the wall and loses about half a second doing so. That's not the way he wanted to start this second stint, but I don't think he's too worried right about now. I think it's more of a case of settling into the rhythm, getting a feel for the car once it's been refilled.
We're going on board with Tisney.
Guy who seems pretty comfortable already on his fresh tires with the added weight is Tisney. He was exactly on his best lap pace. Well, not exactly on it, but close enough to call it exactly on it.
Very much so indeed. Now Chomar also having set the best lap of the race so far with a 1:22.7.
Oh my.
So Chomar at this point actually really matching the pace of TRL Lightning, and that is really in turn going to make it interesting for the remainder of the race here. Very, very nice.
Tisney also looking very comfortable on those new tires here. He was up on his second sector time as well.
So is he going to be up on the final time as well on that lap? Oh, he's down by just under 3/10, but certainly on his pace at the moment. Tisney here. B-Racer is in 4th position and actually not too far back on Tisney. Those are 2.7 seconds adrift from each other. And there's a 6.5 second gap, but seems to maybe be coming down between B-Racer and GTLeague. TRL Org is in 6th position. He is on a little bit of an island at the moment. Behind him it is Bellin in 7th and ATT in 8th. And ATT is doing a hecking good job of catching up to Bellin in front. And we might be seeing a squabble there for 7th position within too long. Right now, the Frenchman is certainly having digs at the advantage of the Belgian in front.
And looking mighty fine doing so. I do love the color of that car. It's very, very nice.
It's very nice indeed.
Meanwhile, I'm just itching to figure out what the gap is like here.
Oh, it's up to 4 seconds.
4 seconds.
So, Lightning had a big moment there. Can we just get that once more? Have a look at what happened here for Lightning.
Signs that Lightning might in fact be a human being here.
Might just
pushes it a bit too hard on the curb and has a bit of a squirm. Quickly held though, so not too much of a worry, but it does cost him a little bit.
A very good save though. And by the looks of it, he's now gaining a little bit on Chomar in front, so doesn't seem to have been costing him too much. Now in front, it's B-Racer having caught up to Tisney.
Yeah, he caught up by setting the fastest lap of the race, just as we saw Lightning having that moment.
And by a huge margin here.
Along. He's looking to go on the inside, he does so, gets the perfect. Oh no!
That was an insane move. Look at that one being pulled out there from B-Racer. A very, very strong move to take 3rd position. Look
already a second ahead.
Look at that pace at the moment.
What is he on?
And his last lap and also wasn't even the fastest one. He set but he is on that pace, low 22s at the moment. He's absolutely flying the Italian here. I don't know from where that came, but he's found something, and right now he is charging along, and that 20-second gap in front, well, that might come down during the race if he can keep that sort of speed advantage up between himself. The last lap of Lightning, let's just have a look on what that was. It was a 23-1, so it's come down by a second almost, just over the course of the last lap.
I think Lightning here is just being a little bit patient. He knows he's running that long stint, and he knows what he needs is tires and fuel at the end of the stint as well as on the beginning of the stint. And I don't think he's pushing all that hard in spite of the mistake we just saw him do. I think he's just holding off a little bit as well.
And it would be the right thing to do, given that he is in a very good position, and he's put himself in a position to retake the lead as soon as Chomar pits. And at that moment, it might be swinging also in the direction of Lightning speed-wise with the cars, as the car of Lightning becomes lighter and lighter. So that way around...
You might say it's Lightning.
It's Lightning, indeed. So...
I'm sorry.
Caught me off guard there, Trails.
I think I caught Chomar off guard as well, because he's just lost a second. Can we switch to Chomar? I think he had a bit of an incident.
Let's see if we can catch him.
He seems to have damage as well. He's swerving left and right across the track.
And he's already doing that here, or did he have...
I think we just saw a brief glimpse of something of his car into the dust as you switch back.
He did.
2.8 seconds. That's trouble for Chomar.
That is
unfortunate for the Ace Monaco driver here.
He was really hoping to build on that advantage, as he is not just the virtual leader of the race, he is de facto leading by 3 seconds just in front of TRL Lightning. Mostly, I guess, by having a shorter pit stop and running. And that's also worth mentioning, of course, that the shorter stints also in turn makes for shorter stops. So if you can go faster and have those shorter stops, the time spent, well, it's going to be very, very close between these two, even in the long run for the line. We are not nearly really halfway yet, but we are nearing that halfway point of the race, and we are beginning to see a clear picture of proceedings. It is Chomar and TRL Lightning at the moment battling out for the race lead. They are in turn 20 seconds in front of B Racer, who's done a very nice pace for the last couple of laps and just overtook Tichney like it was no thing. Really stuck that one up the inside and made it stick, and a brilliant move it was, and lucky enough to catch it twice there. Of course, Tichney, as mentioned before, in 4th position, going very consistently, but lacking the pace at the moment, at least, of B Racer. GTL is making his return in his very small comeback.
His return is such a strong drive from him after that one incident. He's 30 seconds in arrears, and that's really not too much, all things considered.
You also see his pace here with a 1:23.1 on his last lap, so it is very strong indeed, and looking very, very nice at the moment from GTLeague, just keeping it composed on that exit. Off is in 6th position. Let's have a look with him as we just go on board there through that final chicane. The Frenchman has maybe completely lived up to the expectation, or he might just be stronger in the Group 3 cars.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all things considered, these cars are very different from most of what you run in, let's say, FIA races. Let's even say most of GT Sport.
Yeah.
This is a different beast altogether. And just as I say that, you see how hard it is to control. This is the guy who won last season of FIA races.
Ladies and gentlemen,
top talent, and you can, if you listen along, you can hear that car struggling for grip all the way up through the 3rd gear.
Huge oversteer there indeed.
And if you're running a steering wheel and a set of pedals that's not anywhere near maxed out on the gas pedal, it just does that even when you're trying to feather it along.
Oh, so now Bellin, he was just within a second before ATT of Bellin, and now he's getting there once more after, I think, having made a little bit of a mistake before, but it is certainly closing up now in the battle for 7th position. Let's just have a look with the race leader Chomar. Now it's down to 1.5 seconds between himself and TRL Lightning. So the Cookie Monster is certainly munching his way up through the cookie gap that is in front of him. There is a trail late. maybe Chomar's car is spilling some kind of cookies and it's spurring lightning on behind, but right now he's really on a charge. He's going exceptionally fast. Once more, let's just say he's doing the same pace as GTLeague, but he's doing that with a brimmed tank. I don't think any of the other drivers we saw at the pit stop brimmed their tanks. Might be wrong, but I don't really think so here, as he just catches up in a matter of moments and now is right upon the bumper of Chomar there, made a little bit of a mistake, and now we have a very, very difficult situation for the Frenchman to handle, because it is the fastest on the continent. Gets a brilliant exit and turn. Chomar seems to just crack a little bit under the pressure. Where is the car of the Frenchman? It's right there. What a cool thing with this tilted camera. Going into turn 1. You just have to press that one there. Thank you.
The levels of coordination required to broadcast things is this. If you only knew. And B Racer's into the pits.
B Racer's in the pits now. So he's the first one of, alongside a couple of other cars we had in just a moment before. Didn't really catch those ones, but we have the second round of pit stops coming along now. B Racers went more or less to the bottom of his fuel tank anyways. So Ork now in 5th position. Now a yellow flag in front. So who was that? Titchney didn't seem. Alex, was it him? Might not have been anything really. Titchney has certainly lost a lot of time. I think it was Titchney indeed.
Titchney's in trouble here.
Titchney is a little bit in trouble now. Alex is certainly closing in.
Alex is straddling that curve, but it doesn't even seem to affect him that much. He continues to eat away at that gap.
And now within a second, so the next time they hit the start-finish straight, if he can keep things composed, he will be within the slipstream of Titchney.
He's made up a second and a half on the leaders as well.
As we have Chomar coming into the pits now.
On 4% of fuel, so absolutely dialing in that strategy. Nice to see.
But he would have loved, I think, to actually be in front of Lightning as they pitted in and actually have some kind of advantage to build on for the next pit stint. But it'll be interesting to see how this one plays along for the Frenchman. In turn now, Alex, of course, not having pitted yet, is gonna maybe just charge up for 2nd position here. And what is all that yellow flag business? A hard time really understand. There is a parked car there.
I believe that's the car of ERT Wizard.
That is Wizard, and we also have.
He was rolling a wizard.
So Lightning.
That's what I was laughing about earlier.
Oh,
I didn't want to say as well.
Brilliant. Now Lightning is building his advantage, and he seems to be a very, very hard day. He is leading the affairs at the moment.
Alex
now! Alex and Chomar, the two organizers, the two good friends, they go side by side there. Chomar brilliantly passing on the outside. And Alex just losing out a little bit. Let's just see if we can catch.
Titchney catch back up as well. This is a three-way battle now.
Not the time to see that
Not
replay.
the time to see a replay at all.
As we're coming back to the live action here, it's Titchney seeming to find some pace in his car once more.
Chomar keeping a great, cool head there in that battle and immediately composes himself. Titchney goes wide. It doesn't go in the grass. He's gonna lose a chunk of time, but it doesn't.
So let's see what just happened there as Titchney. And it wasn't this one, it was as they came out. It was a brilliant move there actually from Chomar to get past, as we saw before, and Alex, and he knew he had to get that done. Then Titchney's closing in, seems to just maybe miss his brake marker a little bit, and Viles just to go around, not to hit the car of GTLeague in front. Also
great reactions from Titchney to save that one and make sure that everyone got through safely.
And now Alex is into the pits for his stop, as he is invisible. No, he's not invisible, but why would he pit in with... He has a lot of fuel left, so he might not be. Oh,
is he not aware that it's like that?
I think.
Get some damn. No, what?
I think he was just realizing that with the relative short time that it takes just to change the tires, that he'll be better served with changing his tires and just running on. He's more or less halfway through his stint at the moment. Lightning looking very strong. It's Shomar in second with Chicane now in third position, but he hasn't pitted for the second time yet. B-Racer at the moment has pitted for the second time, so he is looking to consolidate his strong position at around the top of the field, around the last podium step, virtually at least, because Chicane is not going to last that pit stop with 11 seconds. It's GTLeague now in fifth position. Shomar, he knew that he had to get that done. And just to get that clean air in front of him, now it's Orc appearing in the mirrors of GTLeague in behind. And that lovely Toblerone liveried car as well, can I just say. That is also...
I kind of want a Toblerone. After I saw it, I read it when he went into the pits, and my immediate thought was, I want a Toblerone. That means it's a very good review.
Yeah, indeed. It makes you want to eat that sweet, honey-filled, crispy Swiss chocolate.
Why are you doing this to me? I said I wanted a Toblerone. Why are you talking?
We have Orc coming into the pits, so let's see.
So I want Toblerone! Can we get some Fs for me not having Toblerone?
Yeah, F for trials. Trials in need. Trials in hunger.
It's trials.
It's a wanting trials. He wants Toblerone. Can I tell you, we might go get Toblerone after. We will go get Toblerone.
It remains to be seen.
It remains to be seen. Now it is Orc pitting in. He's getting passed by ATT and some of the drivers also, of course, who haven't pitted yet. It'll be interesting to see how they come out standing this time around.
My God, those fuel times. It must be so nerve-wracking being behind the seat of one of those cars. Having to wait for such a long time. You have to remember in the 80s the fuel was pumped.
What was that? He was just waiting.
Was he stuck or something?
He was stuck. I don't know what was happening there, but he lost
I thought he was fueling.
Oh no. GTPlanet. Oh, that is horrible luck for him. Here comes the fueling and now exiting the pits after having spent so long in there. It seems that every time he races in the IGTL, he just needs to suffer some kind of poor luck, be it the poor luck of his teammate or poor luck of his own here, as it
seems. It's hard to tell what happened there. It might have been himself. He might have had some real life issue, and it was simply him holding off choosing tires. Or it's hard to say what happened, but certainly it's very, very damaging, if not race-ending for him.
Indeed, it is.
Unfortunate to see a guy I think we both have a lot of respect for, but. And Tatiana says that she's confused about what that was, and I think we both agree a lot with that, Tatiana.
Very much. Yeah. We were looking at each other.
What happened either, but what a shame.
Because I was right along your lines, thought he was fueling there.
Yeah.
And in turn he wasn't. Now it's
bamboozled by the sounds. Once again.
Bamboozled. GTA Chicane.
Chicane is going very fast here. Look at the gap. So Shomar just coming down. He's going fast.
He's going fast indeed at the moment. And certainly picked up the pace. And is now gaining on the Frenchman in front.
Interestingly, B-Racer is going very fast as well. He's kind of keeping up with that pace
that he's been setting before. That is true. B-Racer only 10 seconds behind Chicane, of course. Chicane yet to make his second pit stop.
Legner is into sixth position as well. He's making moves here, setting his best sector time through there immediately as we catch him as well.
Legner looking very strong just on a consistency level here. Haven't really seen him making any big mistakes so far in the race, and that really does seem to be the way to go. A little bit of time.
Interestingly,
Bellin, the two teammates, are sixth and seventh.
It doesn't work well for Danes, the whole sixth thing. It's hard.
It's hard, but it's so hard it happens sort of naturally. Maybe we're really strong at that sixth.
When we do merchandise, that's gonna be our first t-shirt. It's just sixth.
Well, Kenny mentioned that it might be a pee break, but if it was a pee break, it is the quickest wee I've seen in my life.
That was what we call a wee.
It's ATT still working on his strong return from that early accident. He's just about a second behind of Bellin, but every time he gets close, seems just to make a little mistake and is still just stuck at a kind of status quo there around.
He's eating away at the gap though.
But we've seen that happen on a couple of occasions before, and yet right here
like
still he is.
Certain sectors he seems to go a bit too fast into the last one of those S's. Just lose a little bit. He was strong on the braking there though, but he doesn't get as strong as of an exit as Bellin does. Bellin seeming to be a very a controlled driver, I want to say.
Yeah.
He's very clean. He's not exceptionally fast, but boy does he rail those lines corner after corner, lap after lap. He's always clean. We haven't seen much drama from him. We haven't even mentioned him that much because he runs at a very clean, consistent rate. And I think that's what you saw there as well, even while losing almost a second under in the duration of 2 corners. He still made sure to go slow enough to get that strong exit, and that just gave him all of the time back.
We're seeing Lightning now on a personal best first sector. He is really flying at the moment, and he's also building upon the advantage down to Chomar in second position. It's now 35 seconds.
You guys, I think Lightning's gonna win this one.
It certainly looks that way at the moment, but mind you that Lightning has yet to make his second pit stop, of course, so Trials, spoilers please.
Yeah, but I'm just amazed at the level of driver, at the level you can achieve in this game. I mean, it's beyond... I haven't raced with many races of this level. As Tatiana calls out the curse of the commentator, and I really hope she's not right on that one, because that'll ruin my sleep tonight.
Yeah, if it turns out to be the curse that hits Lightning at some important moment. I mean, he does have to make that pit stop, and it is in turn gonna take him around in about half a minute's time, I suppose. So, and even a bit more than that, so Chomar is gonna be close. And we have seen that it really changes as to when of the different cars are light on fuel, when they're a bit faster than the others, so it does swing back and forth that way, and it is still far from over. Might still have a crunching battle for the lead now. Chicane is making his way there. Might have a little comment there from Stella, the the race dog in the background.
Stella, the race dog.
Oh!
Oh no.
Is that the curse of GTLeague?
Is that the reverse curse of the commentator? I didn't want it to be anything, I just wanted to say something funny.
I'm so afraid that we've had some connection issues from Chomar.
Massive shame to see Chomar of the AS Monaco team get struck by a connection issue.
Which in turn is going to be an engine issue here or something.
Can we count it as an unreliable AB's turbo engine? It blew up, his engine blew up.
Oh.
F's in chat for our dear friend Chomar.
F. He was looking so strong and actually looking like he was the only one who could really challenge the pace of Lightning.
Coming here thick and fast. Suki has a disconnect as well. Suki, who had that horrible start,
Indeed.
has now also had more poor mechanical luck. That's a shame as well, but man, it was going to be incredibly close. Me calling it didn't by any means mean that I firmly believed it. It was more of just jokes.
Yeah. Oh,
and that's a damn shame, because he was what a strong showing from him, picking up the pace.
He was really showing just how strong a driver he actually is. He was absolutely flying along there. I'm so gutted by that. And leaves Chicane second, with B-Racer now steadily closing the gap up to him. B-Racer is on that very strong pace indeed. It's not the first time we've seen him put in those very fast 122s. Seems to be on his laps at the moment, the fastest driver. But
certainly on the hards, he's looking incredibly fast. He seems to get the absolute most out of those tires, and looks very comfortable on a filled fuel tank on hards as well. So he's certainly putting in a strong effort here to make up the difference to Chicane as well. And here in the later parts of the race.
Now within 2 seconds of the British driver in front
In fact,
of
it
him.
was just ballooning a little bit. It went up a bit, then it went down a bit. And now he seems like through this section of the track, he's very comfortable.
We have Olegna entering the pit with what could be an empty fuel tank, so let's hope he hasn't actually run out. I think we could just have a look at...
That's certainly not something that happens when you have an empty fuel tank.
That is certainly not that, so...
Very nicely measured from the good Olegna there, impressive.
Impressive stuff indeed. As Tichney is holding off the Italian behind.
He's pushing hard, the Italian, and he's made up about half a second since we left them.
Closer and closer here, Tichney on his way through the Port Chicane. But Tichney indeed, here as he comes away down to the beach hairpin, he's been very consistent in this race so far, and he might very well be looking at a podium spot for that level of consistency that he's shown until now.
Absolutely, and I think interestingly, I feel like we've had more of a fluctuation in the lap times of B-Racer, because I really think he's pushing all the way to his stint, trying to go absolutely maximum on the speed.
Just about suffers.
And I think I'm right about that, Dirten, the thing I said about him pushing. I think he's pushing.
He is certainly pushing. I think we can say that with just a little hitch of certainty to it. Let's see if we can just catch that moment as he came down through the final S and just ran a little bit wide, then the car sucked into the
Man, we should have never said anything about the curse of the commentator, because I feel like it hits me every time I say something. Every time I try to like underline something interesting about. Oh, as we see. Oh, did you see that B-Racer just diving out of the pits, deciding not to go in with Tichney? Tichney's into the pits on 3% of fuel. B-Racer's still out. He was heading towards the pits. And then at the final moment, Lewis Hamilton himself out of that position.
So it's Tichney now fueling. Alex is up into 3rd position. But it's been a while since Alex pitted, and I actually really just want to have a look at his fuel level. We don't do this all the time, but we do it now, and he is just around a third of his fuel left. So as I was thinking, he is a bit away into his stint at the moment. B-Racer in 2nd position now. Really, he has been looking so strong this last couple of minutes. He has been flying along and still holds the fastest lap of the race so far. Not even the race leader, GTPlanet Lightning, has been able to touch upon that. So really, really, really strong work from the Italian driver. His last lap there of 1:23.8, so a little bit off, but still by no means a slouch lap. And he is coming into the pits now. This time around, let's see if the overcut works on Tichney. Tichney is now in 4th position, and of course Alex there on a little bit of a skewered pit strategy. He will also be pitting in within the next 10 minutes or so. So that's also be really interesting to see if he can stay ahead. So we're going to be following Tichney because we know B-Racers in the pits.
Just as he starts to move there, gets out, he's going to stay ahead.
He is certainly going to stay ahead. As we see, it's Og now following Tichney around. He's going to be trying to unlap himself after losing all that time in the pits before. Something that
he's actually
now
Lightning's
in for his 2nd stop. And that is going to put him on terms with at least B-Racer and Tichney around him.
This is when things heat up, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be close now. Absolutely riveting to see which position he comes out in here.
Could it be that he is in?
Is he cleanly in the front? I think he is.
Very much so, cleanly in front.
He's gonna come down. Yeah, he is in the front. That's not even
the car of GT Alex.
I thought it was. It was not. That's the car of the most unfortunate
wizard.
The Doobie Wizard.
The wizard indeed. Oh, Oh, Lightning has a wall scrape. He did that on his outlap.
The call from the chat as well that Bellin is now into 5th position. I believe that's a bit of a virtual position.
Oh, that's strong work
Unless I'm
from the
mistaken,
Belgian
that
indeed.
does not look like the running of a car on ruined tires. Meanwhile, ATT has also had a bit of a recovery, continued the strong running he had since the early incidents, and he's actually right behind Bellin and closer than we've seen for a while.
Yeah, but every time he seems to get really
I know
close.
you say that every time.
I'm sorry.
Every time you're right, but could you try not saying it?
I'll try to shut my mouth around that one. Hopefully ATT can get... Whoa! That's a cute! Very close.
Bro, be quiet. Is that the curse of the commentator or like the reverse curse of the commentator?
Yeah, I don't know even. But indeed, Bellin is up into 5th position with ATT Sig and Olegna with Desmania here in 7th. TRL in 8th position at the moment in front of Walmart, Dr. Rob, and Wizard. It is Perpy, of course, in the pits at the moment. Lightning has a little bit of contact there with that wall of wall of champs I was about to call it, but we could in the Chicane of Death there, Port Chicane, and the advantage to GTLeague about 30 seconds at the moment. Indeed, it is, and B-Racer is about 14 seconds down on Frenchman. But mind you that Alex is getting close to his next pit stop. It's gonna be his 3rd pit stop in turn when he comes so far. So even though Speed Racer has quite a big contact with the wall there, that's gonna open the door for Tichney. He's gonna have some damage now to the car. Tichney maybe just wanting to dive a little bit, but you see the pace difference.
No, that was the line he was on before as
that
well.
Is true.
As I was talking about, the difference between the two lines is you can cut across early and then go wide, or you can go all the way wide, and those seem to be the two prevailing lines. Very interesting to see them come head to head here.
Side by side, we had
just as the cars are coming head to head.
We had some very close action, and now Tichney going off
before
there.
you can hold that and not lose too much, so it's by no means over, but it gives us the time to play that back. Play that back, that sounded like...
I just wanted to go on board with Tichney.
You see he was actually holding off a little bit there, was Tichney.
Yeah.
He seems to be waiting a little bit. He doesn't want to make a scary pass here, and then he just gets caught out.
Gonna get sucked off there.
Didn't lose too much by it, and I wonder what's going on now. The gap has unfortunately continued to increase. He did get a bit of dirt on his tires, so he would have lost coming out on the exit as well.
ATT's lost a little more time to Bellin there, so maybe he's just got his rhythm punctured somewhat. Olegna is in 7th position, but quite
ATT had lost almost 3.5 seconds after the incident he had, so he's actually caught up by quite a bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he had that big save.
That's true.
When I told you to not tell him to, and then you totally told him, and then he totally crashed again.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tatiana, you might be right. That did look a bit like dirty air, but it might also just be a case of getting confused or getting distracted by the presence of a car immediately in front of you. I gotta be honest and say that every time I've had an experience in the car that could be explained by dirty air, it could also be explained by me not holding my line properly.
I say I felt the dirty air because it does change how much the car understeers corners.
But on a philosophical level, I'll also say that the human consciousness sort of seeks these explanations for its own shortcomings. So I think a lot of people will be really willing to experience dirty air. Because that means that they haven't themselves made a mistake.
We'll be digging into this matter.
This is actually a really interesting subject and something that I've been wondering about. So it might be something we'll try to investigate for you for the coming broadcasts, or it might be something we just choose to continue to debate with you, sort of a religious debate.
So Lightning is looking strong. As I said this before, I think I might just have, but he certainly is He's with a half a minute advantage down to GTLeague. B-Racer third. Chicane is in fourth with Bellin up in fifth position. ATT now sixth. Those two were close before. And Legna seventh. It is Og in eighth with Omar 0096 in ninth position. Dr. Rob in 10th and ERT Wizard in 11th. And that rounds off with running cars at the moment. Just looking at B-Racer and Chicane, those two no more than 1.5 seconds adrift. And then in turn, ATT's lost a lot of time there. Did it happen? No, didn't it happen sometime during that last lap? But he's now quite a way back behind Bellin. Bellin seems to maybe not be as quick on a flying lap, but certainly seems to be a little more consistent there as he has a little bit of contact with that outside wall as well.
Alex into the pits for his last pit stop.
Certainly his last pit stop.
Running virtually in second position, is now down to his more, let's say, real position of fourth, but he has a gap of six and a bit seconds to Chicane, and that's not impossible to close.
I think Chicane's gonna need. Chicane might be able to run the rest of the race, but I'm not quite sure of that. I think Chicane will need an extra pit stop.
It's definitely possible. It is still, even now, it's still a long stint.
I mean, Alex has been having a tremendous pace this race. We've been seeing it all the way from the start. He has just been carrying some kind of bad luck charm. Only surpassed by that of we have seen some other
bigger
bad luck charms. I only was about to say surpassed by that one of Joma, indeed, Joma, who
indeed the biggest battle of the race for a long while was killed by that unfortunate disconnect. And
for the second race,
man, I'm happy I'm not inside Joma's head right now.
For the second race in a row that actually happened, and that was really shameful to see because it also happened to GTLeague at the Catalonia race. So gutted to see Joma being hit by the disconnect there. Now in turn, Alex still closing up the gap in front of him. Have a look and see if ATT now has just lost even more time now in 7.5 seconds down on Bellin and D.
I think we're seeing the signs of frustration from being held back as strongly as he was by the curse of youth.
Yeah.
And at some point, it's every time you have an incident, it gets harder and harder to recover from it, mentally as well as rhythm-wise, I guess you can say. And eventually it can just catch up with you, and I think that might have been what we saw from ATT there. It does look like he's recomposed himself. He has made up a little bit of time while I was speaking. That's my effect finally taking hold on him, and now he hopefully can pull something back. But yeah, as I was saying, it's a very hard mental maneuver to do, immediately recovering from an incident, and then even worse from a second or third one.
Very much so, indeed. Now we're seeing the advantage of Chicane coming down even further here. Alex now within 5 seconds of the Brit in front. You see Alex really looking strong on the pace of his lap time. That's of course his outlap, what we're seeing, the 127. Because he's flying up. There was yet another half second gone there. And the tents are rolling off. It looks like Chicane might be suffering. 4.9, he certainly is suffering on space.
He is suffering, yeah. Yeah, this is going to be hard mentally for Chicane as well. Is he going to need an extra pit stop?
I think he is going to need another pit stop.
On dead tires for sure.
B-Racer with a 123.2 there just grazes the wall as well. But we've seen that do that without really losing too much time, and keeps it. Keeps it.
He's done that a lot, just straddled that curb. I don't think that's faster, but what a strong exit he gets doing it. It certainly looks like he should be losing grip, but I'm not sure that he does.
No, it just in turns that he turns the car less, enables him to carry more speed around the exit of the corner. I think they're getting
but just like trying to get on the throttle on that curve, you're feathering it all the way up until fourth gear.
But he might be taking that. I think he takes it in third.
You're able to push.
I think he takes it in third, and that's why he's able to.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I've seen most of these guys take that corner in third gear actually.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, you're doing it in third. I did it in third as well, but once you're on that curve, the loss of traction means that you have to feather the throttle for even longer and even more than you would otherwise. So the thing I was talking about is the fact that he straddles the curve completely. I feel like that might mean that he loses even more grip and would have to lift off even more. But he seems to get a great exit every time, so I think he might know something there that most of us don't.
So Chicane still 4.5 seconds down to GTLeague, who's in fourth position.
Yeah.
Still 2 seconds down up to B-Racer. So he is going about his business. Chicane at the moment now getting a little bit of time in this braking zone. If he can keep the exit strong, then he will be gaining there. But it certainly seems like he is gaining a little bit of time through that corner there, maybe. But it does seem to be quite status quo for Chicane here, as GTLeague might have made a little bit of a mistake there. Seems to just have lost.
He seems to be maybe just dropping off a little bit on the pace. For the last lap and a half, it's been more steady than he was catching before.
Yeah.
And maybe that's even the beginning of tire wear. No, but he's more than a second down on his best lap.
Yeah.
And I think he was running close to his best laps before, so he must have made a mistake on this one.
He's made some kind of small mistake,
Yeah.
at least. The mistakes can be very costly if it happens on the wrong exit or in the wrong corner, especially around this track that has some very fast sections indeed. And these cars where any loss of speed can really amount to a big loss of time in comparison to the drivers around. So we're looking at ATT, who's now lost almost 15 seconds up to Bellin. So I really think you're right on what you called before with this French gentleman who was seemingly getting a little frustrated after his incidents and accidents. He was so close to Bellin for so long. I mean, we're talking long period of the race here, 10 laps to go for him, and that in turn now means that it's just 9 laps to go actually for Lightning as he crosses the start-finish line there. He leads by 50 seconds, so it's a dominant display by...
I gotta say, I'm starting to wonder if he's gonna win by more than a minute, because
I think
he doesn't seem to lose pace across his stint like other people do.
No.
And he won't be needing another pit stop. You see, just as I say, he says he did that exact same thing the last time I said it. Instead of sector 1 time, that was only 5 thousandths off. And he did again now, so yeah. Thanks for proving my point, Lightning. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'd say it's been really impressive that B-Racer has actually been able to best the 1 lap pace of GTL Lightning. That in itself is kind of a...
Crazy impressive in and of itself, even though you have to consider the fact that Lightning is probably running under his potential.
I was just about to say
stay steady, but
the consistent pace, the way he's been keeping such a pace on the length of his stints is hugely impressive, and just goes to show that he is, without a doubt, one of the very best around in GT Sport at the moment. Flying GTL Lightning. Chicane now 2.5 seconds behind, and Alex only 3.5 seconds behind Chicane. So Alex having made up yet another second to the Brit in front of him, and it might come down to a battle here come the end of the race between these two, the more consistent, which would be Chicane today, and the faster of the two today, which would be GT Alex, in this car at least. The last lap time of Alex was a very respectable 1:23.0. But Chicane has just been making very few mistakes, at least very few great mistakes. And we really saw a decisive couple of errors there early race from GT Alex.
yeah, you have to wonder what would have been for him, because he was holding Lightning at bay, and not for like half a lap either.
He was.
It was looking like a consistent, even a bit measured of a pace from him, and it held Lightning off. At least held Lightning in a position where he had to think about what he was doing.
Yeah. Very much so.
And he didn't look sketchy at any point. It was just going through the Chicane of Death, and something happened.
Yeah.
And it was really like
Something happened because it didn't. Was it? What I'm wondering is, did he get hit by some car up the inside that we didn't notice when we were on board and watched it? Or
maybe
like
the
this?
car behind hit the second wall.
Yeah.
Of the first part of the chicane,
And then hit
got
him.
bumped into him or
Yeah,
something.
might have happened like that.
Genuinely did look very odd. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
Have some water.
Thank you.
But you're completely right on the what could have been part for GTLeague, because he was certainly up there. He was amongst the very fastest drivers today. It's a big shame to see him. Big shame not to see. He is amongst the top contenders today, no doubt. But he could have been challenging Lightning for the lead.
I mean, we're talking about it like his race ended with those incidents, and he's genuinely in fourth position and quite comfortably so. And even looking at P3 coming into the end,
That's what I mean.
stages.
What a strong comeback it's been.
Absolutely a crazy comeback, and but that's the thing, you know. It just proves our point of what could have been.
So it's actually really coming in together here because as GTLeague is catching Tichney, the gap in front is still just hovering around those 2.5 seconds, and that just means that if Alex catches up and has on fresher tires or just has the pace on B-Racer here come the final couple of laps, he might be able to even challenge for second. We have to see how that. Tichney goes a little wide there, kicks up a lot of dust, and might suffer a bit of grip loss there on his left side.
Didn't seem to hurt him too much, though. He's still on his best lap so far.
He knows it's now that he has to put in some strong laps. Here come the end of the race.
Absolutely, that's true, but scarily the gap still seems to be coming down.
Alex is absolutely flying at the moment.
This is one of those things. I think we all know that feeling of pushing as hard as we feel like we're able to, and still just watching that gap come down.
Indeed.
And it's very hard not to push too hard at that point and have a bit of an accident, have a bit of a smaller incident that costs you more time. Tichney, though, seeming to be able to do that. We haven't seen much of a mistake from him. He had that tiny little contact, guys.
And then there was a
Tiny little contact with the wall, but that almost seems to be the meta here.
But look at that gap now, 1.3 seconds. He is eating away the advantage of Tichney in front now, and it's closing in here. We are with 5 laps to go for these drivers, and GTLeague is on a flying pace with a 1:22.8 on his last lap. So it's really all coming together for the Frenchman, who might, even despite his bad luck in the beginning of the race, be able to make the podium here come the end. At the moment, he certainly is a lot faster than Tichney in front. As we see Bellin in behind there, he's still in 5th position, still around 15 seconds down to ATT. Then it is Olegna 7th. He's also really on an island with Roman there. Now all getting close to his compatriot, so it might also be a scrap over the last lap there for 8th position. We'll be jumping right back to that 3rd position battle, and it's now within a second. So Tichney will be giving the slipstream advantage to GTLeague here. Down towards turn 1, still not really close enough for any eventual dirty air as they come out.
Alex was certainly looking for the stronger exit there. He went wider than Tichney did, and that must be helping him coming down here. He's in the slipstream.
He's both
That's half a second. They both stay off the wall, so it's a fast Port Chicane for both of them. Tichney actually builds up the gap just a little bit. You see, he does his best first sector as well. You have to wonder if Alex was doing the same. I think he probably would have.
And at the same time, it's B-Racer actually increasing the advantage down to these two drivers. So
B-Racer is flying right now.
Also going at a very fast pace here as he goes sideways for a moment there. Tichney seems to go a little of the same there with GTLeague also doing a Tichney. I was about to say Tichney still running on his best lap so far. And Alex,
this is one of those make or break moments. If Tichney can go fast enough that Alex can catch him, Alex might make a mistake or even just have to drop off the pace a little bit. So right now, he might be able to break him. but he certainly doesn't seem to be able to do so. He gets a stronger exit out of there, so it's back up to 0.08 of a second.
Yeah, it's 0.8 of a second there, of course. But yeah, indeed, it's still very close, within a second between these two. As we go on board with GT Alex, the Frenchman.
Oh, Tiffany has a bit of a squirm there. That's going to cost him, is it?
That is going to cost him a little bit there, but Alex not getting his best exit of the race either, I can say, I think.
That's for sure. People stay on the wall, dialed into that Port Chicane again.
Tiffany gaining a little bit through the Port Chicane this time around. Let's see who can get the best line out of this corner. The exit's so important here.
Alex got a strong one, and he has the slipstream all the way through the S's as well.
Oh, as now he's within half a second. Tiffany.
Oh, he goes wide through the first one.
Goes massively wide, I think, but then gains in turn as they come out, both sliding out of that one there. Insane stuff watching there.
Really seeing the effects of the tire wear here as they both just go drifting through that last one.
Absolutely flying through there. B-Racers now stacking up the advantage through this. I think they're both really feeling the heat at the moment. Lightning is looking very strong. 3 laps to go now for the race leader. It will be very shortly for these drivers as well. As Tiffany takes advantage of the slipstream of ATT there, the 6th position driver, getting lapped by this podium battle. And at the moment it really does it certainly looks like Lightning is going to take it. I think that is without most doubt by now.
The biggest drama in that regard is whether or not he's going to beat them by a minute, as I tried to...
It's going to be close. It's going to be very close.
We're about 54 seconds.
If B-Racer can keep his composure for the next 3 laps, he will take that second position. This is the battle that is really worth following at the moment. It is Tiffany in 3rd position, defending and doing a brilliant job. So from GT Alex, we've seen them both just making some minor mistakes here and there. Both might just be suffering with that tire wear and the pressure of just having someone really fast, really close there. As we see Alex just
cool head he's had. He's been setting his best laps, his best sector times for the last little bit, and he doesn't seem phased one bit as the gap builds.
As we see Alex just lose a big amount of time from making 2 mistakes in a row there.
That was what I was talking about.
It certainly was.
He had the chance to break him if he was able to put in a pace that he wasn't able to close down completely, and that's exactly what happened. Great head from the Brit we saw there.
Brilliant stuff indeed from Tiffany, and now only 2 laps to go. That might just have made the decisive moment actually, because 1.8 seconds, and it might just have thrown off GT Alex from his mindset, which was really the hunter. And now in turn, if Tiffany gets the idea that he was getting away, he might as well in turn just do so. As they come through the chicane, Alex gets that done cleanly and takes a 10 out of the advantage once more. He really does need Tiffany to make some kind of mistake.
This brings the dirty air debate back into it, because immediately Alex starts picking up time again, starts closing down that gap. It's only once he gets into the slipstream he seems to be struggling.
Yeah.
I gotta say that's evidence to the contrary of my point, but it's not very strong. It's very anecdotal.
I don't think it's. I don't think the dirty air is as strong as you would maybe have it in real life. But I think it is there just that.
Yeah, but in real life, I mean, it depends on the cars. These 80s cars, they wouldn't experience nearly as much dirty air as the complex F1 cars of today.
Maybe that's. Yeah, maybe the game is not completely able to simulate that. As GT Alex goes a little bit wide there in a turn. Does lose out on a little bit of speed coming down the front straight.
1 second and was getting ever closer to that slipstream.
As they are on the final lap, ladies and gentlemen, and that means we have TRL Lightning. We haven't been looking at him so much here for the last couple of times, but his last lap time of 1:23.4, it has just been so steady all the way through. And he ends up with about 55 seconds of margin down to B-Racer. So the most comfortable of victories for TRL Lightning, who takes the checkered flag of the IGTL 1985 F1 Croatian Grand Prix there. Such a strong performance from the German. Now let's go check in with the guys in behind. Now B-Racers lost some time. And still a second there in between. So it certainly does look to go being looks to be falling out in the way of Titchney. There is now GTLeague gets very close. It is going to be a last minute launch there.
Charge here. Last few corners. He's close enough to make a move if he gets a strong exit here.
Oh,
I don't think that's going to be enough coming down towards the chicane.
I don't think it is either. It certainly is going to need all the best exit he can get, but he gets...
Oh, he's so close.
Does seem to get a really brilliant exit. Titchney goes... Oh, it's going to be close. It's a long one, this one. He might just go all the way to the line.
It's going to be side by side for the finish between these two.
Oh! Titchney takes it, I think.
Too close to call, I'm gonna say.
Too close to call indeed. Can we have a replay on that one, please, ladies and gentlemen? Look at this final sector. Titchney, you never disappoint on these race finishes, I have to say.
Oh my.
Oh my god.
Like and subscribe.
Look at this finish, as we have a lot of other finishes coming in, but just look at this as they come up on the finishing straight. As he ducks and dives, maybe just picks a bit of too much speed out of his own car.
He actually loses just a teeny tiny bit there.
He certainly does.
I'm gonna say it looks like Titchney. Looks like Titchney to me.
It did look like Titchney as well. I must.
You have to wonder if that swerving maneuver had been cleanly done. Would he have gotten ahead, because that was by centimeters.
So, the biggest of congratulations to our 3 podium finishes, of course. Mostly TRL Lightning. What a display of force it has been from him today. Yeah. B-Racer, very, very strong debut in the IGTL. What a performance from him.
Absolutely,
and also taking best lap there by quite a margin, I suspect, with a 1:22.0. That is certainly really strong.
He seemed to have all of the pace, but he just wasn't able to string it together for a full stint.
No,
and
that's true.
That hurt him in some regards, but amazing pace and an amazing debut from him.
And look that it cannot call the time difference there
between... Is it the same?
Titchney and Alex. They might be...
No, it says 0.2 to Alex. It says Alex wins by 2 thousandths of a second.
It actually does. We will be waiting for the official results for that one. Bellin gets to top 5. Strong work from him. ATT gets 6th there, and Org in 7th position with Romain 8th.
And here we have the final results. Titchney takes it.
Titchney does take it indeed. Whoa.
Wow. Once again, I'm just surprised by how strong, how entertaining of a finish we can have.
Yeah.
To a race. It's every time it's unexpected and it's closer than you think almost is possible. Wow. Yeah. Amazing job to everyone involved. This was so much fun to watch. Even more fun to commentate on.
Yeah. And to all of you lovely folks out there who has joined in today, thank you so much for tuning into the channel.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed it.
I was just about to say those exact words, took them out of my mouth. I really do hope you enjoyed this one. And this time we can surely say that we will be back with the next IGTL event come 2019. And it's been a blast of a race once more. And can I just say once more that a huge F out to Jomas, who got struck by that disconnect. And he would have been up there to challenge Lightning for the win, I think, all the way. It certainly looked like that.
Impossible to call what would have happened, but he was there when he disconnected. And man, it would have been even more exciting all the way through with all these guys.
And thanks to all the love we're showing in chat.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for wanting to stay around with us for 300 kilometers.
Yeah, thanks for sticking around.
What a great experience it was. And yeah, we're so excited that we're going to be able to broadcast more of these IGTL races. I really do believe this is one of the strongest lobby grids you'll ever see in GT Sport.
Yeah.
And yeah, what a pleasure to be able to do this with you guys. And I hope to see you again next time.
Very much so, and of course in the description you will find links to our Twitter account and our Discord server if you wish to join such. And that'll of course allow you to stay updated on all things that is Half the Race Gone with our broadcast schedules and what we do, anything related to the channel. So yeah, it's there right at the bottom of the description. So I think what is left to say for us is a very Merry Christmas to you all. Enjoy your weekend. It's been such a pleasure having you along for the broadcast tonight. My name is DirtenDK, and I've been joined by the very smooth and lovely Trout666. And with that said, I think all that's left to say is until next time, take care, have fun, and bye bye.
And Merry Christmas. Wah, wah.